Hello and welcome to the 4Corners podcast. I'm Brad, joined as always by Matt and Shad. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
Doing good. Doing good, Brad.
I am complaining because yesterday was a beautiful sunny 70-degree day and the temperature dropped by like 25 degrees today. So
Did you say 70?
7-0.
It was only 60
Wow,
here.
it wasn't. Yeah, it was probably around like 60 here yesterday, and it was kind of comparable a little bit to that. It was a little bit colder today probably, but tomorrow it's supposed to be like I think high of 38. Like at least
Yeah.
like a 20 degree drop. And I largely I'm not like terribly arthritic, and I feel like working out and with my diet, changing my diet has helped like inflammation, but I felt like in my elbows, like right here, I felt a little bit of like some aches, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna get cold. I could feel
Yeah,
it.
my
Literally in
my
my bones.
neck's
I could feel it in my
my
bones.
my bones. No, it's hurting in my neck right now.
It's a good thing
So
it warmed up though for tonight's topic, which we will get to in a moment. Um, but we had the Royal Rumble this weekend, which was not super well received.
I don't know, man. There are some people that are all about it, and then I'm like, I've said before, it's not for me. If folks want to enjoy it, go ahead. But I'm not going to pretend like I get it sometimes.
I don't. I mean, people would disagree with me, but like, so you did Jey Uso, which I think's dumb, but like, how many more years? How many more years do you think you're gonna get out of like CM Punk? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm not a fan of him, but if I had him on my roster and like you obviously signed him for whatever, like I feel like you should pull the trigger on him this year instead of taking your chances that he will be here next year and not declined even more.
I would guess the thing that put them off that is the fact that, he got hurt during last year's one, so they don't want to put him in the title picture and then have the injury bug pop up and then be scrambling for the title picture in.
But I mean, you could do him versus Cody if you're not going to do like Cody and Rock and just have him lose. Like, there's no reason he has to win.
They might do Cody Cena.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Cena's allegedly retiring this year, and Cena didn't win the Rumble, but announced like because he wants to like challenge for the title, win another title. That's like part of the storyline that he announced like he wants to be part of the Elimination Chamber.
But see, this is what I hate about two world titles though, because so Jey Uso won the Rumble. There's no reason you should challenge for Walter's world title because it's not the real world title. Like, if you have a choice, like there's only one choice, and it's the one Cody has because it's the real world title.
Well, maybe they'll do Cody and Jay. Like,
I
find that less appealing than Cody Cena.
I mean,
Rock,
Cody,
like I think did an angle.
Cody
Rock did an angle where
Cena.
he like beat someone up yesterday, like on Raw.
I don't
I think
know.
Rock like wants to have a match. The rumor that I read today is that the internal plans was to do Roman versus Seth versus Punk. Which is like, again, I'm a Phil Brooks hater, so I want anything that will not get him the main event. Even though I don't think the main event of
It
Night
doesn't
one of
mean
Mania
anything.
that's not the Mania. That's not a WrestleMania main event. I'm
There's-
sorry, and I hate
yeah.
saying that. I hate saying that because there are talented people who've had that main event spot.
It's not the
Sami
main
Zayn,
event.
Kevin Owens, Bianca Belair versus Mercedes Moné, previously Sasha Banks. They had night one Mania main event. It's like it's the main event of that show,
Yeah, but it's not the.
that card. It's not a true Mania main event. So I don't want Phil Brooks to have a true Mania main
that's
event.
what-
Yeah, it's
That's what I always hated with
It
Wrestle
depends.
Kingdom. Is like a lot of years Wrestle
Yeah.
Kingdom would have the big world title, like the big IWGP match at the end of night one, and then there's night two. It's like, but you already had the biggest match. Like, why do I care?
It would depend. Like sometimes they would do it where it's like the match you would want to see would be like night two, but there would be it was one of two things. It was like, yeah, the big match was night one, And so then the second night would still be a big match, but it's like, whatever. Like, it's just a good match, but I mean, the match I wanted to see was the night before. Or it's like you want to see, it's the winner of night one versus Okada, maybe. And it's like, it's between, like, let's say, like Naito and Tanahashi. And it's like, oh man, I want to see, like, maybe that year, like, was really like Naito's year. So it's like, oh, I want to see Naito Okada, like, in night two. And of course, like, Naito would win. It's like, you knew, but it was predictable. That was the thing. It's either night one was the match you want to see, and night two is like, okay. Or it was like night two is the one you want to see, but that's because night one finish, who's going to go over, was almost entirely, like, predictable. The only time they, like, actually, I think, surprised me was, I think, like, when they had Ibushi win, like, everything, and I'm like, oh, okay, guess it's Ibushi's time. And then he had like 3 months, and I think he got injured, or they just put the title on Jay White and it's done. But I don't know. Anyway, I don't think that night one of Mania is a main event.
It's a main event.
Brooks in the main event of Mania.
It's a main event, but it's not the main event of Mania. And it's like, and it's to this point where, I mean, I very clearly, I've made my feelings known in the past. I don't like the guy either, but I don't care anymore. You know what, y'all? You go do whatever you want to. Go, you have your, have your yeetiest main event match if you want to, and then what? Fine. It's just
what I don't get about it though is they're making the same mistake with Seth yet again, where he's going to be involved in this main event where he doesn't have the star power and he doesn't have the promo ability, and he's just going to be little cuck boy, like, sitting in the corner furiously jerking off while Roman and Punk, like, have all the intrigue.
He's going to be the one who's doing all of the, big work.
Yeah, but like anything, like, but like people aren't going to care about him. Like, his promos are cringy. Like, he just, I mean, not that Punk's promos haven't, like, gotten kind of lazy.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to say, like, looking at, I watched, which is a good angle. I'm going to give them credit. The Jacob Fatu Braun Strowman angle from Saturday night's main event is actually really good, because they did a traditional thing where pretty much it's just Jacob Fatu gets DQ'd for destroying Braun Strowman and then just keeps destroying him. And I have to say, I mean, his real world issues aside, but man, like, Jacob Fatu is so much better than Solo Sikoa. Like, it's not even close. Like, he has so much more charisma. He's a better worker. Like, his aura is just so much better.
Is that again? Sorry,
Jacob Fatu's way better than Solo Sikoa, and Jacob being around really exposes how much Solo doesn't have it.
No, people were saying that literally, like, the moment Jacob Fatu got into the company, like, it's Solo Sakai, like, they tried to make him a thing because the WW machine is relentless and their fans are all kind of clapping seals. It's like he's gotten over to a certain extent, but yeah, like the disparity in actual talent is quite stark.
And charisma, it's like stark.
I think Solo Sakai is a fine enough worker. He is
fine as like a bodyguard, I thought, but like not what they're pushing him at.
The funny thing is that in terms of like Samoans or Islanders, like, he's not even remotely the worst. Like, I think Tonga Loa is like terrible. Like, he's only kind of funny is because he's so terrible.
Because he can screw anything up at any moment.
Yeah. Is Tonga Loa the one that had that nefarious clip where Okada had to sell for some of the worst strikes I've ever seen in my life? Okay. It made me so sad watching that clip, because
were they like taking the piss on that? Like,
I don't know.
I remember he had that under the ring thing he screwed up on his debut too. Because the thing is, like, I'll say, like, Tama Tonga's is older and he's way past his prime. But like Tama Tonga has proven he was a good hire.
I think he's fine.
Yeah, like
Like,
he's
yeah,
fine for what they're
he's
using him as. They could probably use him a little more, honestly. I probably would have had him challenge Cody instead of Solo. But you know,
yeah.
he has some, he has like a lot of good qualities, especially like his presentation and charisma. But like I said, the I don't know if it's on
They
YouTube.
also
I don't know if it's on YouTube, but
uh,
anyone watching this, like, I will give them credit that the Jacob Fatu destroying Braun Strowman on Saturday night's main event was like a very good angle and well done.
yeah.
And like it
Uh,
was a smart move because like Braun is like the perfect, like if you really want to push a guy, like Braun hasn't really done that before.
mm,
I feel bad for Braun because here's a guy who was, I mean, hammering on the door to the main event, and they just kept cutting his knees out from under him so that we could have Brock Roman part 47 or whatever. What were you going to say, Matt?
I was just talking about how like they also have Hikuleo in developmental, even though he hasn't appeared on NXT or something yet. But I don't know if you guys have also seen, maybe not, but on social media, Twitter especially, Zilla Fatu. I don't know if he's
Mhm.
related
He's
somehow.
not good.
He's terrible, and he's also probably has like a dozen matches or something. He has a really low match
I think he
Mhm.
has like
amount.
20 maybe.
Yeah, and he's really terrible. But
Oh, he's
and
bad,
he's also,
bad.
I think he was a dude who like, and I mean GCW is like kind of like a clown, but I think he like stiffed GCW because he was like, I don't know.
He seems like an
He seems
entitled piece of shit, honestly, and I don't
he
think he's
seems
going to
entitled, and
improve because
yeah, I
he
think
thinks
there's
he's
like
in the
maturity issues
pipeline.
there. Yeah, and but he's like constant. That's a funny thing is that he constantly says stuff on Twitter or angles, but it's like, yo man, like I'm ready for the bloodline, like it's like, all right, bro, like no one
You s-
mentioned you.
you
Like,
smell
yeah,
desperate.
The
You
thing
know.
it
is,
comes
though,
off so desperate.
they'll put up with a lot of shit, but like, I don't know, man. Like, I think he's playing with fire, thinking like he's a shoo-in. Like, you gotta behave to a certain
Pick me,
extent.
Sentai. Pick
Yeah,
me. Ooh, here, me. No,
and
dude.
it's nothing. It's also nothing I want to talk about a lot. But like, so if you haven't been paying attention, like, there's, I guess it's a stalking situation with Asuka.
Yeah, she never went into detail that I'm aware of. She just said she felt very unsafe, and there was a combination of I'm feeling very. If I don't respond, I'm feeling very unsafe, and please don't try and express any kind of romantic love towards me or anything like that. And it's like, oh wow, that
Well, and the companies have stepped in to address it, which I can't think of many situations, even outside of wrestling, where like companies have gotten involved.
even that
Did
And
the WWE actually step in and make a comment on that, or
no,
she said.
she said TKO and WWE have stepped in to like protect her and address
Yeah.
it.
look, I mean, they should. Uh, I'm also thinking, if you guys remember, it was not that long ago, like a few years, but like Sonya Deville was stalked to the point where the guy showed up to her house or wherever she was living,
Didn't he
but
try to abduct
it's
her?
like,
He
oh
was
no,
going
yeah,
to.
it wasn't just like a creepy fan showed up and knocked on the door wanting an autograph or like, here's some roses. Like, no, like he actually showed up with like
A weapon,
the
I think.
kidnapping kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
think
kidnapping kid. It's like I got duct tape and rope and everything in the back of my car and like a weapon or something. And I think she was there with Mandy Rose.
Yeah, Mandy
yeah.
Rose was there.
But it was almost like, what was going to happen to either one of them? Like, he
Yeah.
could have easily, not to be morbid, he could have done very bad things to Mandy Rose and then abducted Sonya Deville. Like,
Or,
it was real. I mean, she's come back to wrestling since then, but she
Still,
took some time off, and it's like, I can't imagine how you wouldn't have like PTSD.
hang on. I'm
or-
looking it up real
well,
quick
remember,
because I want to.
remember, this has been years ago now because he's been gone a while. But remember, there was some creepy shit going on with Moxley towards the end of his run.
Oh yeah, the fangirls he had with their conspiracy theories and.
Well, I thought
and
didn't someone like break into like his hotel room or something, or try to, like, there was some weird. Well, remember, this is way old. This is decades ago now, but remember, David Letterman had some woman like break into his home and like was trying on his clothes or something in like the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Sonya Deville incident, not incident, the Sonya Deville, I suppose, attack. The guy showed up, armed with a knife, plastic zip ties, mace, and duct tape, with which, and this, I'm reading it off Sportster, so, you know, giant grain of salt on the writing, brazenly infiltrated her home.
If it's sports day, you have to hope the Redditor or the Twitter account wrote it properly first.
Yeah. Fate intervened when an alarm sounded, alerting DeVille and Rose to the impending danger. They managed to escape the clutches of the would-be assailant. Law enforcement promptly apprehended the attacker, sentenced him to 15 years prison for attempted kidnapping, stalking, with an additional 15 years of probation. And, let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, the judge denied bond so very hard on that. Like, that's scary as hell. And that happened to them. And we don't know what the lead up to it was, right? Like, we don't know what the build up on that was. Apparently, Osco's was overt enough that TKO actually stepped in before law enforcement did. So that's...
I think the DeVille one, I don't think there was a lot of like forewarning on that. I think that was just...
He just showed up and
it makes you
rolled
wonder,
in.
It makes you wonder what's wrong with these people, though.
I mean, there's lots of people who they create, you know,
parasocial relationships, blah blah blah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, that's been a thing for, you know, forever and a day. Is you had stories of people trying to break into the hotel rooms of Elvis and the Beatles and stuff like that. And, you know, the president of, I think it was her name Selena? Was that what it was?
Maybe.
The Tejano singer?
Yeah.
San Antonio.
Yeah, yeah. Like, the president of her fan club shot her.
Yes, so my wife is from San Antonio, and it was obviously, like, Selena is very big there still, even though she's, God rest her soul, she's been dead like 30 years, so close to it.
Yeah.
That was a little bit more of a complicated situation because, yes, this woman was like the president of her fan club.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they had like a weird parasocial relationship, but the problem with that is, like, I think the family, meeting Selena and everything, had discovered that the woman was actually, like, effectively, like, stealing money from them or embezzling money from them. She was doing like something weird, and they caught her. They're gonna let her go, but the woman was like, "No, like, let me, like, let's meet up. Let me, like, plead my case. Let me talk." And he's like, "Okay, like, let's meet at this mall." And
then
she did, and then the woman just pulled out a gun and shot her. And then it almost seemed like it was on impulse because the woman, like, then it's almost like it was like a strip mall type of thing, and it wasn't like she ran, like, you know, police had to chase her down, stuff like that. She basically shot her and then went to her car, and, like, the police came, like, immediately, and she just was, like, barricaded in her car, like sitting there, and while they're cajoling her to come out, because obviously she has a weapon. But I don't know, it was weird. It wasn't
okay.
I don't think it was quite like they had a weird parasocial relationship exactly. There was like some. I think
so. Yeah, you're right.
The guy that, if you want a real trippy read, because there's some insight into him, the guy that shot Lennon. His is really interesting. So he had, like, voices in his head.
Oh yeah, the Little People Council or something.
Yeah, so he essentially had voices in his head.
Schizophrenic?
No, well, this is what's crazy about his story, though. So he had these voices in his head, and he told the voices in his head, like, "Well, I'm going to shoot Lennon," and the voices in his head are like, "No, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that."
Yeah. It was. I loved the way that
voices were like. The voices tried to talk some sense to him, like, "Whoa, no."
Oh, yeah, that's not even the first time.
No, they were like, "Don't do that. That's stupid."
Because, okay, when he was young, his imaginary friends was the Little People Council, and then in his adulthood, they came back because he was. However, I loved the way that that Marcus Parks on the last podcast on the left put it. He said, when the Little People came back, they got his life in order. They straightened out his finances. They told him how to straighten up and behave with his family. His life was doing well, and then he got fixated on shooting John Lennon, and the little people said, well, we can't help you anymore, and his imaginary friends abandoned him. Like, they said, don't do that, and he went to go through with it, and they left anyway, so...
Because I don't even think, like... I mean, truly, because, I mean, I listened to that series, and I've read a bit about it, and I don't even remember what his motive was. I don't even think he kind of quite knows why he did it. It's like really a bizarre story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want an example of, well, I would say
the guy that shot Reagan was like
shot Reagan. That's the exact one. Yeah.
He was obsessed with
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
And in his mind,
because I think that
he had a relationship with her, was doing it for her, and it's like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And I think that really fucked her up too. Like, on top of all that,
it sure as hell wouldn't have done any favors. Hinckley was reported seeking fame to impress Jodie Foster, with whom he had a fixation after watching Taxi Driver.
Oh yeah.
It's like, wow, okay, that's scary.
Vectron in the chat. That's a good point. It's like when the voices in your head are trying to tell you that you're about to make a mistake, you got problems. Like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
No,
shut up, voices in my head.
You're in my head.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Also,
that's the thing that kills me with it, because usually, like, when you're in that situation, the voices are the problem, like, not like the other way around.
Yeah. The voices are like, yeah, you could do that. That would be great. Yeah. And in this case, they're like, no,
bad idea.
Oh no, that was a joke. I was trying to remember the Catcher in the Rye thing, because I remember there was a South Park episode where they wrote some book and Butters is like, must kill Lennon.
Hey, he goes downstairs. He's like, kill John Lennon. Hey, Dad, where's John Lennon? Oh, he's been dead for 20 years. Oh, okay. And he goes back upstairs and finishes reading the book. He comes downstairs, kill Ronald Reagan. What are you doing, Butters? I'm going to go kill Ronald Reagan. He's dead, too. Oh, hamburgers.
Is that...
Oh, hamburgers. Also, Vectron, I've been to San Diego. I'm not a fan of California either, but I did like San Diego. San Diego was actually nice.
So
I wouldn't want to live in California, but
I just want to
any
make
other examples of crazy people who had imaginary relationships in their head. Maybe committed violence.
Kaczynski probably had some voices going on there.
Oh man, Kaczynski got jacked up.
What do you mean?
Kaczynski was unknowingly subject to an MK Ultra experiment. And they dosed the hell out of him with himself, and it screwed up his brain chemistry.
Is he the one is he the one that was in Iraq, and he just made his squad mates listen to Bad Company by Bad Company from the album by Bad Company?
No. Oh, that was McVeigh.
That was McVeigh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Kaczynski is an interesting guy, because he was like legitimately a genius. Like one of those, like, I finished college at MIT and solved like incredible mathematic equations by the time I was like 14 type genius.
Yeah.
He's like crazy smart, and
you know who else? You know who else did that? You're never gonna guess, because it's always hilarious to me. Necro Butcher.
I heard Necro Butcher was actually like brilliant. Like,
he went to college at like 14 or something like ridiculous like that.
Yeah. But McVeigh, I think
going to college that early.
Krasinski, yeah.
I think going to college that early really screws with you. I think there is something to being on a regular development track.
Because
you get isolated being around people too old for you.
No, McVeigh got radicalized because he tried to be the. He thought he was going to be the badass and not take time off after his deployment to get ready for special forces training, and it caused him to wash out. He was like, "Oh, everybody's against me," and it's like, okay, that's not. Oh, he's already gone down the path. Okay,
yeah,
he got radicalized so fast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I said McVeigh, I meant Kaczynski. Like, he not only was he a good genius, I think he probably, and we didn't have like a term for it, but he was probably like at least like somewhat neurodivergent. Like
Mhm.
he thought differently anyway. Like he was maybe like autistic, possibly, or I don't know. He was a different type of person. And then I don't know, maybe I don't know much about the MK Ultra stuff, but maybe. But
Yeah.
I don't know that he was like a schizophrenic, like voices talk to me type of thing, but he definitely like obviously thought very differently and had very strong opinions about
Yeah.
how
Okay.
technology was going to ruin
He
us.
had
And I
some.
think like
I don't
he
think
made
you
those
can.
comments, and it's like you made that decision probably probably a few decades early. Because nowadays, like I would probably be like, yeah, I don't know that social media is really like a net positive
I
for our
think.
society, but
I think there has to be some level of paranoia going on in your head to like go live in the middle of nowhere with no electricity.
So
in
Kaczynski,
like a shack that's like
yeah,
8 by 8.
yeah, Kaczynski went to Harvard at 16, and while he was there, he did 200 hours as part of a psychological study that was. It's hard to tell because they shredded all the documents, but you can be reasonably sure was tied in with MK Ultra stuff, and they had essays the students would write, and then people in the study would use what was quoted as vehement, sweeping, and personally abusive attacks as critiques on those essays. So, and then there's also suggested that there were drugs mixed into it too. So his brain chemistry got ugh, um, jacked up at a very formative age.
I just thought of another example, but I don't know much about the shooter. But this one happened actually right up the street from me. Dimebag Daryl getting shot at like that concert. But I don't know much
He
about
got
the
shot
shooter.
by a fan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, boy, we're off to a bright,
Yes.
peppy start to this episode.
Morbid. It's
Yes.
supposed to be a
Well, I
lighthearted
just wanted to
episode.
mention. I just wanted to mention it
Topic.
because I'm
What
tired.
about the Royal Rumble again, guys? Like,
We have a better.
Which one's more depressing?
I don't know. The Rumble's pretty depressing for me because for the longest time, it was my favorite event, and it has not been good for a long time. And I don't like. I'm sorry, but the women don't need the same gimmicks as the guys do. It just waters everything down.
that was not only the match itself was not well received, but apparently people are not happy with Charlotte winning.
No, because
Yeah.
it's such
Charlotte
a
wins.
it's such a fuck you to people. Like that's the thing I think it's getting bad again, but that was always the thing that the last like 7 or 8 years of events is like just punishing you for being invested. And like the Charlotte thing
Yeah.
is such a punishment for like investment.
Look, there's a picture that was floating around today that I think it was like Natalia. Who is she? I think she was hugging like Jordan Grace, who was one of the like Rumble entrants, and she just signed like a 5-year deal. So it's like, yeah, of course, like she's. But then the background, you see Shotzi Blackheart, who I'm not that really a fan of,
No,
but
she's
she was
terrible.
supposed to be, and she was supposed to be in the Rumble and got kicked. And you look who was in the Rumble. It's like obviously the big surprise was Alexa Bliss came back. It's like, okay, well, but two of the other Rumble members were Trish Stratus, and I actually like Trish, but it's also like you're like pushing 50, and you're still in phenomenal shape. But did you really need the surprise of her going in there in the Rumble versus Shotzi, who's actually like in being featured at NXT now? Who else? There was also Nikki Bella, and it's like, yeah, we really need Nikki Bella back in this. And there was a couple NXT people outside of
been in
like the
there,
big stars, like
Roxanne.
but like
But like the problem is like
she was in there.
Roxanne Perez has been in like 3 now.
Yeah, they need to move her up. But Lash Legend and Jada Parker were in there, and it's like you could probably not put one of those people in there and put like Shotzi, but if you wanted to keep Nikki Bella and Trish Stratus, like, but that wasn't well received. The Charlotte in itself, like she's almost at like Hogan level in the sense that it's like, let me, pardon my language, fuck off for like 6 months, and then I'll come back and immediately be put in the title program because fuck
Yeah,
you.
but at least,
Every time.
but the problem
And
is
it's
though,
old.
but the difference though is where I think that's a bad comparison is up until it didn't work anymore. Like you knew if Hogan fucked off for 6 months and came back, that like if you put him in like the program, your ratings and attendance is probably going to go up. Like Charlotte has never shown any ability. Like like remember when they moved her over to NXT to compete with AEW and ratings didn't move, and then they weren't competing with AEW anymore. But remember when they moved Becky over and ratings bounced by like maybe 200,000 people a week when she would be on. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perhaps not the best example, just because like Hogan was a different level star than Charlotte is, but you know what I mean. I'm putting to say like she comes in and like I immediately puts herself is put in the main event, and I don't know. I guess last night on Raw she came out and cut a promo about how like she had this horrible injury, which like she tore her ACL, so she was legitimately injured for a long time, and it's like almost like telling like the Britt Baker, or Adam Cole, or and any other person who's been hurt, where it's like, I had this really bad injury and I fought back and everything, and like the heartfelt story, and she just was getting booed, like just relentlessly booed by people who are like, I don't want to hear it, I don't like you.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't watch it, but allegedly towards the end she started like flipping it to like kind of lean more into like being a heel.
But she should have been doing
it
for the
just
last.
was so tone deaf. But it was so tone deaf too, because like the promos leading up to it wasn't a surprise she was in the Rumble. They like they did vignettes.
But the problem
is
the problem though is,
and she was like, "Oh, I'm the best, I'm the queen," instead of like arrogant.
The problem
like,
is
then how are
though
you gonna come out and do a babyface promo?
The problem is though they did that and people were like, she's gonna win, and then she won.
Yeah.
And that's what pissed people off even more. But I think the problem with her is she's not a good face. She's not. Like people want to boo her. And
Never been a good baby face.
And
Ric Flair was better as a heel, but he could play a face for at least limited periods, and it was fine. It was believable.
But Charlotte cannot do it.
But Flair was a different fan base in a different era, and he had like this built-in respect, and like the WCW fans wanted a little more of a hard edge, like scoundrel face. Like WWF had that for a while, but I don't think their fans quite. But like she just doesn't. She has decent charisma, but you don't really. There's a lot of problems with Charlotte as a face. She's not like sympathetic, and that's nothing against her.
No.
She's not sympathetic because she's bigger than all the other women, like by a lot. Like she's clearly bigger, more athletic. Like just like I would say 8 out of 10 women that they could possibly have on their roster just standing across the ring from her are automatic underdogs to her. So when you're trying to present her as a face,
how tall is she?
Oh, she's got to be close to. I think she's like 5'10".
Let's say she's 5'10". Like, put her up against someone like Roxanne Perez, who's probably like what? Let me look it up. If she's like more than 5'4", then I'd be shocked. So that's a 6-inch difference.
I think the average woman in America is like 5'3.5" or something.
Oh my God, Roxanne Perez is allegedly 5'1". Yeah, so let me see Charlotte Flair height.
She's 5'10" or 5'11", I think.
5'10".
Yeah.
So, and look, my wife is about 5.5 feet. I'm 6 feet, so I'm not gigantic in any stretch, but like there's a 6-inch difference, and if both of us are barefoot sitting next to each other, it's obvious. Like I'm much taller than her, and that's only 6 inches. Like this is apparently a 9-inch. So someone like her, yeah, or someone like Io Sky, like you're filling most of the women, yeah.
And there's so she's automatically she's not an underdog, so you kind of want to boo her to begin with. I think she has more heel charisma, and she works. Like I've never understood their insistence on her being a face. Like it's always felt like they've had her working against her strengths.
She the guy that got me into wrestling was a super nice guy. but whenever he went out to the ring, he could not work face to save his life. It just did not work. He was just, first of all, he was too good at being a heel, and then second of all, there was just something in the way he presented it that people hated. And so he never, ever played he never played face. I don't understand why they get so hung up on the idea of trying to make Charlotte that way, because it never works.
Yeah,
Maybe it'll be different this time. Hey, guess what? Now more than ever, it won't.
Like if you watch, there's certain guys like there's like Jordan Oliver. We watched in MLW, and they were doing that like kind of. He was in the prison suit.
Yeah,
and like he still works and stuff, but he works as a heel. But it's just like he wouldn't work as well as a face because like you look at him and you just kind of want to smack the shit out of him. Like automatic, like you just have this like instant, like like I could see just wanting to smack you upside the head just because, and like it's really hard to like root for people like that.
Yeah, 100%. I don't want to root for that, and they have done this dance with Charlotte too many times. Everybody is sick of it.
Like Buddy Landel. Like Buddy Landel could probably work as a face, but you kind of just want to smack the shit out of Buddy Landel.
Yeah.
And he kind of wants you to smack the shit out of him, so I don't think it works.
There's many reasons why Ric Flair in his time worked, but one of the things that made him work is that even if he was gonna win, he'd get the shit kicked out of him, like all match long or a lot of the matches. Like maybe he'd take over, but usually because he cheated, so he's taking over, and he was presented strongly when he's like, he has all the heat segment. Then the babyface would come back, and you'd see matches where it's like Flair would be like, oh, like begging off, like he's literally like he's terrified that he's gonna get the,
He'd even do that to the ref sometimes,
shit
which I
kicked in.
always laughed at.
Yeah. And then sometimes he'd still win, but maybe he'd cheat, and then it's like, oh, the dirtiest player of the game. It's like, and he was presented strongly and well, so he didn't lose anything. Even if he won, it's like, well, he won by cheating, so the other guy keeps some of his heat. Like
the old phrase,
Charlotte, it's like you never think she's in peril. Sorry to cut you off, Chad.
No,
it's like
it's
you never. It's like, oh yeah, like I don't think she's gonna win, guy. It's like she's all she's gonna.
Yeah, that's a booking.
She'll dominate.
That's a booking problem too, though, because like.
Oh no, it is like, and let's be honest, like this is part of why Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes, is not there anymore. It's because a couple years back they decided, oh, let's sign Charlotte. Let's sign Charlotte Flair to a multi-million-dollar contract. Yeah, way more than Sasha.
They're paying Liv Morgan more than Sasha.
Yeah, and like they did that, and then I think like a month later is when she like blew out her knee. So it's like you're gonna be on the shelf for another year. But they and when they did that, it was like I looked it up, and it's like it's a couple years back. So like Sasha at that time I think was like 30 or 31, and Charlotte was already like 38. So now she's like a 40-year-old woman or close to it. And no offense, but
well, she got in late, so
it's like what? But yes, but it's also like, why would you give? Even if she's get it, but it's like, why would you be like signing a big contract to like a 38-year-old? Like, how much longer is she going to do this? And
especially
hating. I mean, like,
especially
that's just the way biology works.
Especially the type of worker Charlotte is, I would be kind of nervous about signing her older because, like, this isn't a shot at her work. I'm talking about like her, like how she moves, her physiology, like how she works as a worker, but. She's very athleticism dependent. And when she starts blowing her wheels out, like that's going to make it harder and harder for her to maintain like a level of like, remember how Nia Jax has always like not been good, but when she had that double ACL tear, she's just been like pretty much worthless ever since then because like she had some athletic talent and then she lost it because of her knee injuries.
Anytime you start messing with mobility, it's going to affect you, especially in a very physical thing like pro wrestling. Really, obviously, real sports more because you can mask a lot of stuff with pro wrestling. But yeah,
well,
like
to an extent, the benefit of having someone who is on your NFL team you're able to put them in. It's like, okay, we need this guy we paid a lot of money to for clutch plays, and so you only put him in for 2 or 3 plays or a handful of plays in a game. Okay, cool. But if you have somebody that you've paid a lot for and they're hobbled and not moving and not doing well, then they are just out there in front of God and everybody, and it's hugely obvious. Like, yes, it's a work, so there are other ways to mask it, but then there's also less cover. That's what I'm trying to agree with you in a very roundabout way.
And also, I think like because of just the nature of being in the women's division, you don't have like the plethora of workers that can help you mask your deficiencies.
WWE does have some very good women's workers.
But it's very top heavy. But they also have.
And who are you booking?
Yeah, but like they have a lot of women that have come up through NXT though, so they're not training those women to be able to maybe work on the fly and be like, oh, okay, well, your mobility's a little, behind, so let's like I'm gonna do this and this to help you out. Like there's not stuff like that, or like to go back to it, like remember when we watched that Greg Valentine and Marcus Bagwell match?
Mm-hmm.
And how Valentine was real smart and how he would let Bagwell shine, and then he would use like his points of offense to take a breather from going hard for Bagwell so he could like do his offense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think like someone coming up from NXT is going to necessarily have that like ability in them, because they're going to be like, well, no, I have to do the script.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. That bothers me just for the simple reason that the ability to call it in the ring is something that I think everybody who wrestles should have. There are only a handful of people that could get away with scripting an entire match, and off the top of my head, that's Randy Savage and DDP. Those are the only two I can think of that scripted everything from beginning to end at a high level. I don't know. Maybe they gave it to Warrior, but I don't think he did it himself. But for the most part, I'm like, you need to be able to, improvise.
You need to be able to do both, really.
I wasn't good at doing the pre-planned stuff because, frankly, I wouldn't remember it. It's like, okay, we're getting ready to go through the curtain. Here's 7 spots we're going to do, and I'm going to be like, dude, don't do that. We get out there. I'm not even. I am going to forget like 5 of the 7.
Remember, this has been years ago now, and it involved Charlotte. But remember, there was that match where like Carrie got obviously concussed during the match, and Charlotte still put her through the table because like at that point in her career, because of the NXT training, she wasn't able to deviate off the script, even though like I think it was Becky and Asuka were working around her, and Charlotte still couldn't. Like Charlotte just did not have the capacity to deviate from the script.
I don't remember I know we had the discussion, but I can't remember if the discussion was whether or not Charlotte couldn't deviate from the script, or if Charlotte didn't realize that she was hurt.
I would say that comes from the same place, though.
It may come from the same place, but they're two very different afflictions. So I don't like comparing those two to each other. But I don't want to get into hyperbole, but what was it? Nikita Lyons and Lash Legend had that one match where they lost their place, so they just started doing rope drills, hoping the other one would remember what to do or something like that. It's like, no, don't. Look, I wouldn't remember because every physical training I'd had in my life was always make sure you're reacting in the moment to what's going on. And so I was very much not like, I am planning this out. It's very much a, let's see what happens, let's react.
But like,
and
I
wasn't going to remember.
What blows my mind about that one, though, is I feel like if you've had 2 wrestling matches, most people would have the common sense to be like, oh shit, we forgot what to do, and just grab a headlock and be like, hey buddy, I forgot what we're doing. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Or have
Put a
someone
pinlock on, do
part of the
something, yeah.
have part of the training be if you get lost during a match, whoever was on offense grab a headlock, calm down a second, and talk.
Or couldn't like I'm just saying like on the fly, like if we had that problem and I kind of stopped in the middle of the ring and kind of, maybe did body language showing I wanted to hip toss you, wouldn't you just go with it? Like I'm pretty sure there's a way to signal like, hey, I'm gonna hip toss you.
Kind of, but look, if we got to a point where we were just lost in the middle of it, my response was probably going to be, I'm just going to step to the middle of the ring. I'm going to point at you, and I'm going to point it. I'm going to point at you. I'm going to give me the best you got, and I'm just going to take us into like a strike exchange for a minute. Why? Because we ain't going anywhere at the moment anyway. Might as well try and do something, right?
I figured I would just grab a
actually
headlock
clever,
or
'cause
back you into a corner or something so you can talk.
What was that, Matt?
I would say like a strike exchange in the middle, like that would actually be clever. Because I mean, I can see where maybe like the transition in some respects could be like jarring if you're doing stuff and it's all just you kind of see that you're lost, maybe, or it messes up the flow. But it's like a strike exchange could work because people would be into that.
Yeah.
And you can get the crowd back engaged. Meanwhile, you guys are like sorting out like, well, where do we go after this? Like,
Yeah.
There
was
great, but
when I was young, I took a theater course, and the thing that always stuck out to me was that the person teaching the course said, "Do you want to know how the audience knows that you're lost and not knowing what you're doing? When you tell them. If you're out on stage and the person doesn't come out when they're supposed to, and you're like, 'Hey, where are you?' and they don't come anything, 'Are you coming?' and they don't show up because something happened or whatever." If you go on and you start adjusting stuff on the table and you walk off the stage and grab something, come back out, put it on the table, adjust it, it looks like you're doing something because you're waiting. But if you're standing there and you're like, where are you at? And you look at the audience and go, you have just told them this is messed up. Like,
My favorite story is there was a Mid-South match with Ernie Ladd and Dr. Death Steve Williams, and Steve Williams was getting a little too excited and he wasn't listening to Ernie Ladd. So Ernie Ladd got him in the corner and sat on him. He's like, we're going to sit here until you start listening to me.
Yeah. Well, and that's smart, right? Like, Ernie's like, nope, we're not doing this. We're going to take a minute until we get it back on track. So.
Okay, so we want to get to our main topic for the night. Okay, so this is, as the title would suggest, the Animal Kingdom Pro Wrestling Tournament.
We wanted to do something that was a little bit of fun, but we could have some discussion out of.
So we have 16 animals entering the fray tonight. So I'm going to read off our first round matches here. So we did make during our selection process, we excluded an elephant because we did not see realistically how an elephant would lose. And
there's not any land animal that's going to take down an elephant.
Yeah.
They're just too damn big.
And we precluded air and sea creatures. There is a crocodile, but they're they're still a reptile.
Amphibians.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say, Matt?
Well, excluding like some sort of marine animal makes sense, just because like you take mostly a tournament of largely terrestrial animals and like dump them in the ocean or whatever. It's like, well, clearly they're not. I mean, an alligator maybe, but what are you gonna do? I have like a bear against a shark. It's like bear's just trying to swim, not to die. But anyway, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a video online of an elephant versus a rhino. Like I guess a rhino, like, I don't know, it's feeling its oats, but it attacks like a adult elephant. I don't know if it was. I think it was a male because it had like tusk. I don't know. Do female elephants have tusk? I didn't think they did.
No, they don't.
It
might. I'll take that back. There might be a species that does, but I don't think they do.
I think it was a male then, and so the rhino like was attacking the elephant. And the elephant was just kind of like, really, and the rhino just was kept, and the elephant literally just. I thought the way it was like aggregated on YouTube, I thought it was gonna like be really gory and violent, and I'm like, I don't want to see like poor rhino die, but the elephant basically like literally like was like headbutting it and just like taking a foot and just like, and it was a little aggressive. It's like pushing it, but it had knocked the rhino over. The rhino was like not having a good time.
Yeah.
But it's quick, and the rhino, it basically like the elephant like let the rhino get up, and the rhino like scurried away, and it's like, whoa, I'm sorry, buddy. Like I thought that I didn't know that was your seat.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay. And the elephant just like it didn't pursue it, just was like, but it was like the elephant. It was such a clear disparity. It's like okay, the elephant, a huge rhino. It's like it just easily.
And the thing is,
I saw
elephants have so much size advantage. With that, so much strength advantage, and on top of all of that, such thick hide that
they have
predators that you might think could do something, they're not going to break. I mean, they didn't get that big and that plentiful by accident.
They have an intelligence advantage too over a lot.
Yeah.
There's a video.
Elephants are very. Yeah.
There's a video I saw someone sent me, and these two are in the tournament, but it's a bunch of lions in the water in Africa. And this hippo comes just storming along in the water, and these lions are like, "Oh fuck, we're screwed! Get out! Get out!"
Oh no, that's not the one I saw. The one I saw, it was said like it was supposed to be like a young hippo, and it was smaller than hippos get, so maybe it was like more of a juvenile hippo. It was obviously in Africa, and they were like it was down by like a river or something, and there was a whole bunch of lions, and it looked to be predominantly female lions because they didn't have the mane.
Yeah, male lions are lazy shits. They don't do anything.
Yeah, so they were all like crowded around the hippo, and they start messing with the hippo. I presume they're thinking like, well, maybe we can kill this hippo and eat the hippo. But it's bigger than them. Even if it's a juvenile, it's much bigger than them. And they start messing with it. Okay, and then one of the female lions, literally got frisky enough that it jumps on its back.
Yeah,
the hippo's back, and it starts because all big cats they really try to go for like the neck to like break the neck and everything. So it starts going like, gnawing at his neck, but you're dealing with a neck that's like this. It's big. It's bigger neck that the neck of the hippo, even juvenile, was probably wider than the body of the lioness. And anyway, the hippo, it's clearly like scared because it's real like skittish and everything like that, and it's getting messed with, whatever. But it finally has enough when it gets on his back. This fucking hippo opens its jaws, reaches back, grabs the lion by its head. You see one of its tusks puncture through the lioness's lower jaw.
Yep.
And it shakes the shit out of her like you see a dog like grabbing like a bunny or a chew toy and just like it shakes the shit out of her and throws her, and she like flies through the air, and it doesn't kill her like she gets up, but she's clearly like real bad wounded. Like I don't know the long-term prospects of that lioness, but it had enough.
Not great.
Like it just clomped on. It's like nope, clomp, shake, toss, and it went right into the water. And it's like that. Like all the other lions were like, "Whoa!" Like,
if you watch zoo videos, if you watch zoo videos with a lot of hippos, they'll throw them like a whole watermelon or a whole pumpkin, and they'll just they'll just smash it like it's nothing.
It's a trash compactor. Just
yeah. So this is our first round matches to think about. So we have first match with our 1 seed, the grizzly bear against the wolf. Then we have a lion versus a moose, a tiger versus a Komodo dragon, a capybara versus a bison, a gorilla versus a boa constrictor, a very large boa constrictor, a crocodile versus a kangaroo, a rhino versus a wild pig. We could say a boar, whatever you want to do. It's a wild. Yeah. It reminds me of the Rocko's Modern Life thing where they were doing something. This wild pig's like, "I'm a wild pig," and they start.
Now you say that, and I immediately go to Men in Tights. No, that's a wild pig, and then he points it at.
Oh yeah, what pig?
Goes, that's a wild boar.
Oh, I thought like where he's yelling about the poach, like one pig wild. But Carol looks at it, that's a wild pig, that's a wild boar, and then you have Richard Lewis go, funny, very funny. My favorite line from that movie is when he's with the witch. He's like, so why do they call you the witch latrine? And she's like, it used to be shit house. And he's like, well, change is good.
Good change. Oh man, it's Mel Brooks. It's gonna be awesome.
That's a
right.
solid movie. And then we have a hippo versus a honey badger is our final
Mm.
match for the first round. So we're gonna start with the grizzly bear versus the wolf, which I don't necessarily think this is much of a fight.
So part of the difficulty is these are set up as 1v1 me, bro.
Yeah.
And in doing so, that's not where wolves shine. Wolves shine because they are pack animals that work together. Even if it was against something so much larger, they're pack animals that work together. And so having just one go up against something with the size, strength, and weaponry of a grizzly, sorry, much as I'd like to be able to put up a better argument for it,
I think a pack of wolves would have a bad time with a grizzly bear.
they would, but there is a path to victory for them.
Yeah, they would. They would
Yes.
probably move along.
I think they probably would, but I think that if they're really dedicated, a pack of them could probably take down a wolf. A grizzly. Like I think that they would probably take casualties and or fatalities doing it, but I can
think
see it.
I think they would have to take it down. Like I think they could probably take down like a subadult pretty easily, or like an older one that's kind of failing a bit. But I think like a mom defending her cubs, like they're just
Or
Yeah,
like a
they're-
just full size adult male in its prime. Like it would be very difficult. And realistically, yeah, I think a wolf pack would probably pass. Although wolves, people who've never seen a wolf, like an actual wolf, they are big. They're bigger than people think they are.
oh,
Like, they
coyotes are too.
I haven't seen a coyote in person.
I was driving
I've
somewhere to
seen wolves in
Thanksgiving, and
person.
there was one just chilling in someone's yard, and it was the coyotes I have seen in the wild are some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. Like they are just majestic, like beautiful animals.
Coyotes are weird because they look they look like wolves, but they kind of have like a weird like
They're like a
Thin.
off kind of face. Their face isn't as cute, isn't as majestic as a wolf, and it's not as cute as a dog. It's like
and they're kind of more their coloring's a little lighter, I would say, in general.
I love wolves. Again, I've seen a wolf in person. Wolves are big. Think like Great Dane size.
Yeah.
Big. Like,
People
they're
think-
pretty damn big. Yeah,
People think German Shepherd, and it's like
or
that's too
or
skinny.
like a husky. It's
So
like
I think
yeah,
like I think the Mexican like Lobo's a little smaller for a wolf.
If it's like a western gray wolf that's in the western half of the United States, these are big things. These are like
yeah.
German Shepherds, Huskies. They are too thin
They're
compared to
they're-
these things.
There is something to be said, and I think that there's biological reasons for this, but in a colder climate, you are likely to get some larger size animals because ironically, like the bigger size, like the way the heat disperses like through the
Mhm.
body, it's actually biologically better for you, at least as a mammal, to have a larger body because the
Mhm.
heat, you retain the heat more
Hmm.
with that. Where and also probably the climate in a drier, not necessarily desert, but a drier climate with probably less readily available water sources. You're gonna get leaner muscle mass, like a smaller body frame. But
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
have to carry extra weight.
yeah, I agree. Like really, you need a wolf pack versus a grizzly, but even a wolf pack, like I think I could see them potentially winning, but it would. This is one of those like maybe it'd be like a Pyrrhic victory where like they take casualties and losses. So is
Yeah.
it worth it? Why? So I
Yeah.
think realistically,
Yeah.
to me, I'm gonna be honest with you. My tournament, Grizzly's gonna go pretty far. Like Grizzlies are amazing. Our friend of the show, Justin, he and I oftentimes will like trade stories or something because Grizzlies are really low key like terrifying animals because they will just they're practically unstoppable. They're like just tanks.
Well,
And
if you're getting attacked
will-
by one, so in the general sense, you're going to be attacked by a bear, like a black bear, a grizzly bear, or a polar bear. The grizzly bear is the one that's least likely to actually try to eat you. They just kind of want to maul the shit out of you until they think you're dead. That's why you play dead. Like for some reason, a black bear is less likely to attack you, But if they do attack you, they're much more likely to want to eat you. And polar bears are just trying to fucking eat you because they're hunting you. Like usually a
polar bears
grizzly bear
are-
just wants to neutralize you, so they're just going to drag you into
I-
the underbrush and.
I think polar bears might be like explicitly, like exclusively carnivorous, so they're not.
Yeah, they are.
If they're gonna eat you.
Yeah.
Black bears. I don't know where you guys are. I'm on the East Coast, and I'm right by like just outside of DC, which is not terribly urban unless you go a little bit further out. And then like you go into like Virginia. I'm not that far from West Virginia too, so it does get rural reasonably quickly. So there's lots of black bears, like are not that far away, like drive an hour and probably get into areas that have black bears.
You don't see them much here,
Black
but
bears-
we have grizzlies here.
Oh wow, that east, that far east?
Yeah.
They can come down from
Grizzlies or
Canada.
brown bears?
I think Kentucky
Well,
might
what-
have. Does Kentucky have grizzlies?
black bears.
No.
They don't.
What
No, there's not.
what I was gonna say is generally black bears, they're big, but they're not like crazy big. They might be people size to a little bit bigger than people size, but they're far more likely to like be the sort that I will break into your car and eat your food in your car than they ever mess with you. Like this is a few years back, but we had a friend who went hiking in the woods with like her dog, and she was just hiking and literally looked over, and it's like, like 20 feet away from her, it's just a black bear just looking at her, and it was chilling,
Mhm.
and it made no move to get to her. It
Yeah.
was just like looking at her, like, and if it wanted to, it could have charged her and the dog, like, but it had no interest. It just like was sitting there, just like, hey,
You can,
don't think they
you can
really care
scare
about
black
it.
bears off.
They're
yeah,
pretty.
like I don't.
They're
but
pretty
grizzly-
timid.
Yeah, grizzlies, maybe they don't just want to eat you, but if it does want to eat you, you're gonna get eaten. And
Yay.
it likely will not wait till you're dead to start doing it.
Grizzlies typically only attack you defending cubs.
The thing,
They're pretty indifferent because the other thing is like if there's more than one of you, they're probably not going to attack you, and it's really counterintuitive, and I don't think I could do it, but there is like, other than bear spray, like when they do their bluff charge, like charging back at them is a valid technique to assert dominance and chase them off.
so grizzlies, and I'm doing some quick and dirty research while we do this. Most grizzly attacks come from a bear that's been surprised at close range protecting food or cubs.
Habituated.
Other than that, they don't really care. Unless, and it's the same thing that happens with some big cats, unless you end up with what you call a problem instance of it. But it's grizzlies generally don't care, and they have so much size that other predators that are in the same territory as them, if the grizzly rolls up and they've got a kill there, the other animals are just going to peace out. They're not going to stay
Yeah.
put.
Yeah.
Wolves are going to leave. Big cats are just going to leave. Black bears are just going to leave.
The grizzly's
Yeah.
gonna leave when the bigger grizzly comes
Yeah.
along, smelling it.
Did you guys ever watch Grizzly Man?
I just listened to a podcast
Herzog.
series on that dipshit.
Timothy Treble. Like he got eaten by a grizzly. He and his girlfriend.
Mhm.
And the problem he did was that he was in the Pacific Northwest, and it was one of the situations.
No,
where it
he was
like
in
the
Alaska.
season.
He's in Alaska.
Oh, he was in Alaska. I thought it was.
Yeah,
I
he was.
thought it was north. Okay, so he was in one of these like wilderness parks or areas, and they had told him, it's like it's the end of the season. You need to leave. Like after this, it's any bears that are still here that are not hibernating are older bears or they're sick bears. Like
Well,
they're starved.
the
food.
berry crop had failed that year, so the bears were very stressed.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, for your own protection, it's like you should leave. And he didn't. He I think ducked like Fark Rangers. Like
No,
he
so what
made an
happened?
effort
So
to
what
stay.
happened is they left. They had actually left, so they had got out, and they went back. No one's quite sure. Like there's a story that I just listened to a thing on this, so just so you know.
Yeah.
So there's like, they went back for some reason. There's a story that he got in a fight with a flight agent or something, but they can't verify that. So they went back because he's freaking out because they couldn't find this bear. So they went back through like I think he died on October 6th. So they stayed later, but he put his camp on a bear trail. Like we're literally for a bear to avoid it, they had to either go in the water or go into like very deep brush. And so and he had been habituating the bears. Like he had been approaching the bears and stuff. So these bears like
Oh yeah.
had gotten used to people, so they weren't afraid of people. And so
Which is such a dumb thing. Come on.
and I don't think they were and I don't think they were properly stashing their food either, if I had to guess.
I doubt it. He was such an idiot. Like that's part of like the Grizzly Man like documentary. There's footage of him where there's a bear probably like 50 feet away, and it's like scratching its back on a tree.
Yeah.
And because it's a grizzly, it has a massive size and strength. Like it's scratching its back on a tree, and the tree is just like swaying with the force of this. And it's like, go find a tree that's just like maybe like this big. Like not even like it's probably like a sixth of what this tree was. And if you like try and move it and everything like that, maybe you can, but it's like it's gonna take some effort over. This thing's just scratching its tree and it's swaying. So it's massive, it's powerful. And he's like talking to the bear like it's a fucking like a little toy poodle. He's like, "You're such a cute bear. What a bear." And it's like, that bear's gonna eat you. And it did.
Yeah.
So
And
he's such a dummy.
It needs to be said because I'm tired of idiots saying this. No, the audio's not out there. They're all fakes. Stop pretending like they're real. Anyone that's heard the real audio has said you can't hear the bear in the audio, and all the fakes you can hear the bear. It's not out there, so stop saying it is because they're all fakes.
Yeah, it wasn't the actual audio. The guy that had it's like, nope, this isn't going nowhere.
They gave it to an ex-girlfriend, and she has it in a safety deposit box somewhere.
Okay.
Now I do know
Werner Herzog is the director, and he's German, and it's become like a running joke. There's actually a comedian who does a Werner Herzog impression of him that's dead on because he has the whole like austere, morose German like because but it's true. Like in the documentary, he's like he like you see him listening to it, and then he turns to the woman, like the ex like girlfriend of it. He's like, "You must never listen to this. I suggest you destroy this thing." It's like this deeply serious German man talking very like seriously about this guy because he listened to an audio of a guy getting eaten by a bear.
Yeah.
And
it's
funny story. I think Werner Herzog is also a wrestling fan.
He did a whole. I think I shared that with you guys.
Didn't he do some of the Dark Side of the Ring episodes? I thought he had some.
I don't know. He did a whole thing where he like loves watching wrestling, and it's like not necessarily because he's like he gives this whole spiel, but in pure Werner Herzog, he's like waxing philosophical about the implications of what wrestling actually means, and it's like, I am watching two men fight for the title, and the title is quite inconsequential. And it's like, what are you talking about? But it's fascinating to see
it's comparing it to classic Greek drama.
There's he has.
It's oddly funny. I wonder sometimes if he's just like playing one over on us because he says this and it's actually deep, but it's also like, are you just saying this shit? So
I would say watch Grizzly Man, but also there's a podcast I love. It's about animal attacks called Tooth and Claw. They have a 2-parter on this. They also have an excellent 3-parter on Night of the Grizzlies that happened in Glacier Park, if you want another grizzly one. But the Werner Herzog, I don't know the exact quote, and I wish I did, but he has one of my favorite quotes because I think it's hilarious. It's him talking about like the depths of stupidity that a chicken has. And it's like it's in his like dry like delivery, and he's just like the chicken, like just the like nothing has the depths of stupidity that you see in the eyes of a chicken or something like that. It's just great.
Chickens will straight up kill snakes. So
there's
interesting little thing to find out.
There's so European hedgehogs, one of their favorite snacks are asps, and so they figured out that their spines are longer than the fangs of an asp. So what they do is they agitate the hell out of an asp, and it bites them, and then they just wait until it gets tired from trying to bite them, and then they just kill it and eat it because they're hungry.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
What's our next matchup?
So
Well,
we have-
I think we all agreed Grizzly.
Yeah,
was
Grizzly's
gonna-
moving on.
Grizzly. Yeah.
So we have a lion versus a moose. So I want to talk about something about the lion. So if you watch videos of lions trying to hunt things in the wild, they are dumb motherfuckers. I don't know how lions have like made it. Like they come off like just as inept idiots sometimes.
They're big and strong. That's
And
a lot of
They
the heavy
hunt in
lifting.
groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hunt in groups as well.
And I'll
Of-
say
of-
this, like
Of the big cats, they were not. I wouldn't say they're at the top of the list.
no
for King of the
tigers,
Jungle.
because tigers are
Tigers. Tigers are terrifying and actually smart, like pretty damn smart.
I will say
They're
this.
bigger. Yeah.
So I will say this about the moose. The moose is dumb. It's aggressive. It's nearsighted, and when they're in the rut, which means they're horny, they're aggressive as hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, moose are
Massive.
they fall into that. Yeah, they fall into that kind of like the wolves. It's like moose are way bigger than you think they are. Like way bigger. Like if a moose, the room that I'm in right now, I can touch the ceiling, so it's probably like maybe 8 feet tall. Like a moose would be easily like 8 feet tall. Like they're fucking big. Like think of a horse. They're bigger than a horse. Not twice the size of a horse.
Anyone you know that's done like a lot of hiking, like a lot of backcountry stuff, all have a story about how a moose like chased them or something.
So one of the things that happens is also to give you an idea of how big moose are. Mythbusters had an episode where one of the myths was, "Thank you, Vectron. Have a good night." They were like, okay, one of the myths is if you're driving in a small car and there's a moose in the road, if you speed up when you hit it, what'll happen is you'll be low enough and the moose is high enough that it would tumble back over the car. So they made a moose facsimile. I can't remember what they used for the body, but what they did is they put it in strips to kind of simulate the flexibility of it. And they took a compact car and they had 4 legs to be the stand for it, and they put it on there and like, all right, if this thing's going full tilt, and of course they had remote control for it, we'll see what happens. And they ran this damn car into this moose facsimile that had it had the right weight and it had the right size dimensions, and it just caved in the entire top of the car. And they're like, what if we do it with something bigger? And they hit it with a truck, and you know what happened? No more truck. And there are stories like that happen, and the moose just gets up and leaves. You know?
Well, I've actually talked to a friend of the show, Justin, who like there are moose or meese in his area, so
Mises.
he's hunted moose. So yeah, so he's mentioned something like that, and I'm like, wow, like they just get up, and he's like, well, they probably will like walk off it. They'll probably like limp off and die, because I mean, you can't get hit with that. I mean, physics are what physics are. Like you can't.
Yeah, you're still gonna have that trauma.
Yeah, so it likely it could walk up, it could get up and walk, but it's like it may just like die. Probably will find some place to lay down and die because the trauma of it. You could have internal injuries, whatever. But the physics also works in the other way. It's like if you have something of a specific size and mass, if you're gonna hit that with force, like centrifugal force is going to affect you too, where it's like it's going to total your car.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen.
You better hope that you got good airbags and other things.
I've seen, like, just from some deer hits, I have seen some shit in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was someone, I don't know how they hit it, but the deer went through the windshield and just bled out all over their car because it just gutted itself on the windshield.
I've seen something like that.
Yeah.
Well, they're not near as big, but something an adult male like bull elk.
Oh, that'll
pretty
yeah.
big.
Hitting
that with your car will like mess up.
Well, I used to like do stuff with animal hits, and it's usually deers, but I'm just going through it one day. I'm like, oh, this is an animal hit, and it's like mountain lion. I'm like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
I
Let
saw
me
one where
see.
someone
I'm
hit
looking
a cow
for.
once.
Well, that probably folded the whole thing up, didn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure their car was no more.
So let's see. Weight for a male lion that's in southern Africa, which
350.
can be anywhere from 411 to 496 pounds. I'm using pounds because I'm an American. But a moose. Let me get the average size for a bull moose. Okay, let's do this real quick.
I'll say 1,200 pounds. I'll take a guess.
Description. The average, the range I gave you was the biggest. The lions where they happen to be the biggest. By the way, they can stand at about 7 feet at the shoulder. That's a moose, by the way. 7 feet at the shoulder, and averages 1,400 pounds in males. That's how big moose are. Females are average a little over 1,000. So, I mean, the only way the lion's going to kill the thing is if it can get on its back and get at the neck. And it's not like the moose is just going to stand there and let him do it. So, I don't see this one happening, especially since lions hunt in pride. So, I know big cats are cool and everything, but this is, there's a reason that these things are things that are this big, like elephants and moose and that sort of stuff, don't have a lot of natural predators because it takes a whole pile of them to take them down.
Well, and they also this is what happens with like a giraffe in Africa. Lions can take them out, but they kind of just were like, that's too hard. We'll go get something easier.
They will take the easiest target because they expend less energy doing it and they're less likely to get hurt doing it.
Yeah, because like a giraffe, they come in kicking.
Yeah, they go for the young or the sick or the old. Why? Because they're less likely to get jacked up doing it.
I'm gonna say a moose.
As an aside,
I think
go ahead.
Hang on, go ahead, Matt.
As an aside, I have met and fed giraffes in person a couple times now, and they are just ponderous animals to me because they're so damn big, and they look
Bingo square ponderous.
They look like you're a mammal, but you should be like a dinosaur because they're big and bony and weird looking.
It's kind of doofy in the face too.
Yeah, it's like you're like kind of like a smaller mammal version of like a brontosaurus, but with spots. And you just like to eat Swiss chard for some reason. I'll feed you bushels of Swiss chard if you want. Like, but they're weird. They're giant.
Yeah, the zoo people are always now be careful. They're real timid. You walk over and the giraffe's like, I believe you have treats for me.
Yeah, it's like getting right in your face. It's like, what do you got?
Yeah, hand it over. And then their tongues are like real weird. Like
and super long. It's like
they're real rough and like weird.
I think they're actually like semi-prehensile because they get the leaves off the trees.
Well, if you watch them, they kind of do they kind of grab like an elephant does. I think. I've watched them. They're like one of my favorites at the zoo, just because they're so weird.
Yeah. But wait, who do we decide? Lion versus moose?
I said moose.
I'm going moose.
I think there's a situation.
Really?
I think there's a situation.
I'm going moose.
Yeah.
Brad, you're going moose too?
Yeah, I think this one's like a 51-49 thing. Like I could be convinced of the lion, but I think a moose is just too much on an even playing field.
I would say lion.
I think the moose's aggression, because they are aggressive. I think the moose's aggression is what would fuck the lion up.
See, I would say lion just because they're big and big cats are. You could make the argument that all cats are kind of like murder machines, like even if they're dumb, because some statistic. Now I don't know if it's like PETA saying this. They they don't like private pet ownership in general. But there's
They
some
do like killing
statistics out there
animals
that
though.
like, well, that's what I saw. The statistic was that even just like regular house cats, like if you let them, they're like house cats that are allowed to leave the house. Like the average house cat will kill like some ungodly number of like small animals or birds by itself. Like they just murder like all day. Like literally, like if at 365 days a year, if you have a cat that will go outside, it'll probably murder something at least once that day. Like they're just violent
I
creatures, so they're
I
murder
think
machines.
I
But
think the problem for the lion is this is as far as like the moose, this is like probably the big cat that is like the least dangerous to it because like I think like a tiger I'd probably take over a moose and I think like a cougar I'd probably take over a moose, but lions are kind of just they're not
dumb, you
they're
feel?
not they're kind of dumb, they're kind of blunt. They are more like they're they don't have like the savvy or the cleverness of like a cougar or like a tiger. They're not going to ambush you. They're just going to kind of come at you and try to wear you down. And I don't think that
So,
works with a moose.
I
little
feel
bit
like it should
quick.
be a.
Go ahead, Matt.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, a little quick Googling dropped me on Ask a Naturalist that got this very question. He said, if it was, let me see. Said, lion would probably like moose. The antlers aren't sharp, and individual lions can kill buffalo and giraffe. But the other side to it is that lions are notoriously hopeless hunters and catch prey in 1 out of 10 hunts on average. So it's not that a lion can't do it. It's just that any predator is going to have a lot of failure in their attempting at hunting, but apparently lions fail more than most do.
Oh no, watch some
Interesting.
videos of them trying to hunt and like you lose a lot of respect for them real quick because you're just like, oh, you guys kind of suck.
So the Lion King was all a lie to us. It was just like
Yes.
these guys are punks. But I still want to say lion, but I can, and I'll stick with that because you guys both voting moose advances. But I could definitely see a lion. I mean, taking outside the failure rate, the lions more so than other big cats like tigers seem. I don't like. I won't say skittish, but more like reserved, where it's like, or more like, ooh, they'll back off more. Whereas a moose, like especially like a male moose, they're so damn big, and you can be like, oh, the antlers aren't sharp. It's like, yeah, but the antlers are like, it's like a paddle bat, but it's like, if a moose as big as it is, a lion starts trying to go for it, it could just a male moose for sure could just put his head down and just like start swatting, and they're so damn big and strong. It's basically like you're hitting them with like a baseball bat at least.
Stomping would be bad too.
Yeah.
I actually found
So-
out, just as a weird aside, but a lot of people use donkeys to protect herds because, like,
Yes.
foxes and stuff, they'll just kill them. They'll just stomp them to death.
There are
I
pictures
saw-
where donkeys have killed mountain lions.
I saw that because I heard that, and I'm like, that sounds implausible. And I've seen videos, and the donkey will like start beating the shit. I even saw one with like a donkey like grabbed. I don't know if it was. I think it might have been like a coyote. It was
Just-
like
yeah, grabbed it by
a
the neck.
predator animal. It grabbed it by the neck and it was like ragdolling it, and flinging it around too. And it's like a donkey, and it does it. It's that you don't even have to train it. I don't know what's going on with donkeys. Donkeys like instinctively have some sort of thing inside of them. It's like they take the role of protector of other like prey animals.
They use
Where it's like
llamas
it's a flock
too.
of sheep. You put it like if you have a flock of sheep and you put a donkey out there, the donkey's just like, yeah, these are my bros. So like
Yeah.
a coyote comes rolling around, it's like, oh no, and it just starts messing and like chases out the coyote, and then goes back to chilling.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on? And it doesn't have to be taught. It's not taught.
Bro,
It just
they'll
does
use,
this instinctually.
They also will use donkeys to break like really stubborn horses,
Mhm.
just because they're
And
stubborn.
Donkeys are cool. I actually like donkeys because donkeys, I don't know. They should do some sort of study if they have it on the intelligence of donkeys, because I've seen donkeys like a human being will do something funny where it's like they'll try to get on a horse and they'll like fall flat on their ass, and it's like a pratfall. Obviously, like us as humans would find it funny. And I've seen donkeys just see this and just start busting out bray laughing. And it's like, you shouldn't even know what that is. You don't even know what happened. But it's laughing because contextually it's like, that was funny. That's a funny, like, that's funny, dude. And it's like, how smart are you?
Donkeys also will put their head down and just ram things. And it's staggering. You wouldn't expect something that small to do it, but they will. And like Brad said, llamas will go with like sheep flocks and stuff too, because they will. First of all, they hate canines. Llamas just hate canines, and then will just kick the living hell out of them.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
Okay, so we have our other big cat in action next. So this is the tiger versus the Komodo dragon. So this is an interesting matchup. So now we have to discuss how Komodo dragon bite works. Is they pretty much bite you and then let you go off and die, and then they get you after you die. They just follow you until you die.
Yeah.
Because their mouth is so like germ ridden, you pretty much get infected.
So I actually had read up on this before, because it was said like, oh, they're not poisonous. It's just that there's lots of bacteria, and so any bite that they give becomes horrifically infected. But I think I had read, maybe I should try and look at this quick, but I think I had read that they actually do have some sort of venom. But let me actually see. But I mean, at least like their bite is like
incredibly toxic.
Their mouths have their mouths have like horrific bacteria.
I mean,
oh wait, Komodo dragon do venom. It's a cocktail of toxins that prevents blood clotting. Hold on. Hold on. Prevents blood clotting, lowers blood pressure, and paralyzes muscles. Oh, so they do. They actually do have venom.
Okay.
In addition to harmful bacteria. So they have both. Okay. So
I wonder if they're like rattlesnakes, because like a rattlesnake can bite you without injecting you with venom. Like they can dry bite you. So I wonder if they can do that too.
Here's going to be the question about this showdown: is the winner predicated on which one dies first? Because if we've got these two animals that are just going all out on each other, even if the Komodo gets the bites off, the tiger's probably still going to rip it up. It may die later. As a matter of fact, it probably would die later.
I feel like
seems to me.
I feel like the tiger has the agility and the savvy to avoid the bites and just kill it.
So, I don't know how well this translates, but fun fact I did learn. So your regular run-of-the-mill house cat, it was on Tier Zoo. If you have never watched Tier Zoo, it's a fun channel. They look at animals like they're classes in an MMO to play. They said snakes have a bite reaction speed of about, if I remember right, 0.21 seconds. House cats have a reaction speed of about 0.14. So if a snake goes to bite a house cat, and he's got, he plays video as part of it, here goes the snake for the bite, and the house cat just hits the damn thing. Now, Komodo dragons don't bite that fast, and tigers are too big to be that fast. But since we're scaling it up, I mean, we're dealing with a massive size disparity, massive strength disparity, and a tiger having more weapons to use too.
I would say a tiger has a speed advantage too.
I think Komodo dragons, while like lizards, I think generally they can strike quicker than people expect necessarily. I think generally like their locomotion is on average reasonably slow.
I mean, even like a crocodile though is an ambush striker. Like that
they could, well, that's the thing. I think reptiles can strike, their strike is fast, but the actual like mobility getting to that point, it's not as quick as other animals like mammals. If you've ever seen like a snapping turtle like strike, it strikes so fast you can't even, like your eye can't even catch it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to like, who's gonna? I'm not trying to do like the tortoise and the hare type of thing, but it's like if you put a mammal and just any mammal and a snapping turtle, like who's gonna win the race? Like it's the turtle's not gonna do it. I mean, a
I've
turtle.
seen
It's not the same as like a lizard, but it's like most lizards aren't that fast.
they
So
did do an independent race of a hare and a tortoise in Japan, and the tortoise did win because it just kept going, and the rabbit was just kind of like, meh. I'm just kind of checking stuff out as the tortoise like
yeah,
waddled to victory.
but that's the story. They did the bit. The
Yeah,
hare just like gets bored and just like goose off, and the turtle is single focus. But anyway,
the hare fell asleep, I believe.
I'm gonna say the tiger. Like I think tigers are very quick and agile, even though they're big.
Yeah, if it was,
And
if it was,
I think they're kind of smart. I think they would probably observe and then attack, and then be wary about getting attacked in return. Or I mean, a tiger is not so smart that they would know that this thing has a poisonous bite or bacteria
I
bite.
think though, in general though, if you're an animal, especially a hunter, you know, like the mouth has the pointy things. I should avoid that on general principle. I tend to agree with you. I think if it was the lion, I would be more conflicted.
I've seen, definitely at the San Diego Zoo, which I visited a couple years back. I've seen Komodo dragons in person, and they're big.
Yeah, we have them.
I mean,
They have them at Columbus.
they're big, but I didn't get the sense that. I mean, I wouldn't get it close to one, but I didn't get the sense that it's like they're moving very fast in the wild to get prey or whatever. Like I think that they're big and they're strong, and so they probably ambush prey a bit. But I think there's a biological evolutionary reason why they have either a venomous bite or a bacteria bite.
They're kind of a
Because
long.
they're
They're kind of a long
yeah,
game hunter because they're more
yeah,
about.
their MO is like I'll bite you because I can't necessarily just power grab you and everything here. I'll just wait till you get sick and die. So,
Yeah.
and you don't need that evolutionary process if you are something that's so big and powerful and quick that you can just like manhandle something and eat it right at the gate. So I'm gonna go tiger.
And I would think, just as an aside, like I would think most animals, especially tigers, not necessarily Komodo dragon, but they would have some evolutionary. Oh, that's a reptile. I have to behave a certain way with a reptile.
One of the things that gets into these conversations is the fact that conflating dangerous with immediately deadly is something you have got to be aware of. Like you said, not immediate ambush hunters, persistent stuff. So, yeah, this one's going to boil down to a tiger. Komodo dragons are the closest thing we're going to have to dragons, but not going to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so tiger moves on to the next round. So this is the this side of the bracket, our last matchup. It is the capybara versus the bison. So now it depends on if the capybara is so cool the bison refuses to fight, and the capybara can move on. But we're not dealing those terms. I just added the capybara because the capybara is awesome. But if you look at like Yellowstone, I believe bison kill more people in Yellowstone than grizzly bears do, because
And wolves.
yeah, because bison. Well, I knew not to screw with bison. So at our zoo, one of them gored their trainer a couple years ago and messed them up pretty bad. I'm like, yeah, if they can do that to someone that's like used to dealing with them, you know, that's pretty serious. And they're big. Like my dad went through Yellowstone like on a bike ride, and they said like, yeah, just keep driving if bison charge you because they will like launch you.
So I have been to Yellowstone. When I was in high school, my family took our big trip out west, and in going out there, we're walking along on the boardwalk and stuff, and then all of a sudden, out of the brush, walks this big, bison just comes walking out of the brush, walking across the walkway. The thing they had there was saying, if this happens, Move slowly, because quick movements are going to freak them out. And when they get freaked out, they do dangerous stuff. So I'm backing up carefully. Meanwhile, some moron's running up with a camera with a flash on it to take a picture, and I'm just like, oh, good. But the damn thing was 8 feet tall at the shoulder. Its head is massive. And after all that happened, I can't remember if I looked it up later or if it was in the lodge, but they had a diagram of it. The things are built to charge and hit things with their head. Like, they are scary huge. And it's one of the things where it's like you put a moose and a bison down next to each other, and I don't think their paths are going to cross because they're kind of separate from each other in this bracket, but I think a bison's going to knock a moose right the hell down just because it's not big and long and rangy, kind of in comparison to the way a moose is. It is a
Living
walking
battery.
pile of muscle,
It's a
and
walking
it's
battering
just
ram.
it's just going to knock you right the hell down.
Friend of the show, Justin.
Yeah.
Used to be a butcher back in the day, and
Mhm.
he had to butcher at the slaughterhouse bison, and he noted that they are very dangerous. Like, they're legit dangerous. I mean, the dangerous to the point, like, they will kill people.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh
if
yeah,
not
yeah.
careful.
They're not.
And he made it seem like they can be just violent for the sake of it.
Yeah.
Over Thanksgiving, my wife again is from San Antonio, Texas.
Mhm.
Her parents still live there, so we went to visit them for a week for Thanksgiving week in Texas. And one of those days, we took our oldest daughter to go to. Well, we took both daughters, but our oldest daughter we took to a small zoo that's like there, like kind of almost like on the outskirts of San Antonio. And it was like a small zoo / like snake sanctuary, because my daughter started watching. If you ever see the YouTube channel Snake Discovery, my daughter watches that, and it's actually interesting and kind of educational. We also have it's not bad. It's kind of wholesome. It's about this couple who I think they're like in the Midwest, like Minnesota or something like that, and they have like a snake zoo or snake sanctuary, and they see the snakes and they hold the snakes and they talk about them. There's a lot of videos of them like breeding the snakes, whatever. It's like it's fine. But she became a fan of that, so she wanted to go. So we went to a snake like sanctuary / zoo. We didn't know it was actually a zoo, but long-winded story. At that zoo they had bison. So I saw bison. I fed bison.
Mhm.
These like big like pellets. Two things. One, they're massive. They are just giant.
Yeah.
Like way bigger than a cow.
And cows and
and
bulls
the
are
other-
pretty big.
And the other thing is that maybe it's just these bison, because obviously bison I've heard can be violent. These look to be as dumb as a box of rocks, and they had the whole they had the big like buggy eyes, and they just like because they're massive faces, like as big as my torso face, and they were just the one I was given. It was obviously like a male, like big male. It's just like look at me like side eye, like where's my food, and I'd be like here, and it just and it wasn't violent or aggressive. It just was basically about eating, but it looked dumb as a box of rocks, but massive, terribly massive, to the point where it's like, yeah, I don't want to be charged by you. Like I think that would be real bad.
Mhm.
I have
Fun fact, I paid $80 $80 for me, and well, actually my wife did, but me and my oldest daughter to meet and pet a capybara. I have touched and petted a capybara, and yes, they are awesome. It was so cool. They were like, they're big. They're like at least medium-sized dog sized,
yeah. They have
and
them
they're
at the
just like
zoo here.
chill. Yeah, they're just like chilling, and I'm like, hey, and I'm like petting it, and it has real like coarse fur. It's not like petting a dog. It's like coarse,
Mhm.
and which I guess makes sense because they're basically semi-aquatic animals. But it was so chill. It's like I'm like, hey, like petting it, and it's just like sitting there, it's like chill. So there's something to be said. Like maybe the bison wouldn't mess with the capybara because the capybara is like so chill. It's friends to everyone.
I have a good book recommendation. Since we talked about Yellowstone, there's actually a whole book series. Each park has like a book, but it's Death at Yellowstone. Each park has a book that like Death at like the Grand Canyon and stuff, but it has each chapter is devoted to like how people die at the park in a particular way. And the Yellowstone one is particularly horrified because I think the first chapter is people pretty much dying in the geysers. Like
God.
like some of them
Yeah.
some of them have gone like fallen in and like it's so hot it just burns their skin right off their body.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff about bears killing people, bison. The Grand Canyon one is particularly horrifying because there's a shocking number of people that get too close to the edge and a gust of wind just pushes them in.
Yeah. That's God, I'm terrified of heights.
But that's a good book if you want to read that. It's a good read. It gives you a bit of knowledge about like the park and stuff. But the geysers don't kill as many people because they put the boardwalks in to kind of keep people wrangled, but it still happens.
The number of signs that are in Yellowstone that said, "Stay the hell away from this stuff. It will kill you," and there are still like anywhere from 5 to 10 people in a given year that are dumb enough to ignore the signs, right? Like it's, oh,
So we go on bison for this round.
I'm going bison.
Yes,
Yeah.
poor capybara. He's champion in all of our hearts.
Oh.
But
Apparently, a bison is like heavier than a moose is too.
I figured they're about 2,200 pounds, 16 to 2,200.
So what I have here is in kilograms, but a large moose average around 700, an American bison averages around 1,000, and they're lower to the ground and more compact.
Yeah.
Terrifying idea.
Okay, so our next match here is kind of a timeless matchup if you like kaiju movies, but this is a gorilla versus a boa constrictor. So I think the gorilla takes this just because of its superior intelligence.
Boa constrictors, I feel, are also kind of in their own way like ambush. Like, they're more kind of like surprising a prey. Maybe if it caught like a sleeping gorilla, but a gorilla,
I think that's their preferred
Gorilla-
method is to kind of creep up on you and just kind of get you while you're not while you're asleep.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, at the same place I just talked about in San Antonio, they had a reticulated python, which those are one of the biggest snakes in the world, and
Mhm.
it was gigantic. It was behind glass, it was huge. Like, that's the type of animal that could eat a human being. Like, it's disturbingly, and I'm not phobic about pretty much any animal, but I'm also like, I'm good not like touching snakes, like interacting
Yeah.
with snakes. Like, yeah, I don't like snakes, but
I was gonna make a cod
gorilla-
joke, but I think he's a python.
a what?
I said I was gonna make a joke
Oh.
about Kaw from Jungle Book, but I think he's a python.
He is python.
Yeah. I would go gorilla too. 'Cause gorillas are pretty smart. I don't think they're as smart as chimpanzees, but they're pretty smart,
No,
and they're ridiculously strong.
I don't think they're little
And-
bastards like chimps are either.
You know, chimps are supposed to be our closest
Chimps have little.
relative.
Chimps have little. They have little turf wars. They have like little, like organized chimp wars, and then when they conquer another chimp thing, they castrate all the loser chimps because they're little assholes.
They have gang wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and or kill them and or eat them.
Yes.
Like they're cute and funny and also ridiculously violent and scary.
And they've mauled quite a few people. Because remember those people that went and took that one, like the birthday cake, and then they mauled it, or the lady that was giving one like Xanax and sleeping in bed with
Oh,
it, and it like
Travis the
God.
chimp.
Yeah.
Yeah, Travis the chimp.
That's
And
terrifying.
anyone who's ever seen like what happened to the woman, like it almost would have been better that she just died.
Don't want to.
Was
It's-
Mr.
It's
Mr. Bubbles was a spider monkey, I think, at Jonestown. I don't think that was a chimp. I think that was a spider monkey.
That must have been like a New World monkey. Chimpanzees. Here's the thing about chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are literally legit. Like they have like 3 or 4 times the strength of a human being because the actual biological, like their muscle fibers are denser. So just by nature of that, they are stronger than you. Chimps are on average smaller than an average human being, but they are probably 3 or 4 times stronger than an adult human.
Yeah.
Because the muscle fibers are so dense. So that, what does that mean? It means like they literally could rip you apart. And I mean literally, like if they wanted to, it could probably separate your arm from its body if it wanted to. Plus
No,
they
they're
have like
too
sharper
sadistic for
fangs.
that.
Yeah, they're just not, they're incredible animals, but they're not animals that you want to actually have as pets.
Remember
Some
that
people have.
couple in
It's like
California?
bad idea.
They bit her fingers off. They tore his face off,
Yeah.
and did they tear his balls off?
I don't know. It
They
didn't
mauled the
kill.
shit out of him.
It did. It didn't kill the guy.
No, but
And they didn't kill the monkey for some reason. And they
no,
almost, it was almost like
the
Stockholm.
monkey they
They
came
raised
to,
the animal.
No, that one didn't
They
attack
raised it.
them. The other monkeys in the sanctuary attacked them.
Oh. There was one that it was like that. It was like a family like raised it like as their child, and it mauled like the dude like horrifically. Like he
Yeah,
lost
because
an eye, like massive.
they get real testy when they hit their teenage, like their adolescent years.
Yeah, but you're dealing with an animal that it's like preference. It's like, oh, I'm pissed off. Like I'm having a mood. Like let me like eat your face, because that's what they'll do. They're just like and like chomp on your face and rip it off. And they almost had Stockholm syndrome where they're like, don't do anything to him. Like he didn't mean it. And it's like it ate your face. Like
Yeah.
like even if I had sympathy, I'd be like, it ate my face. Like come on.
It's
like,
got it's got a taste for it now. It's got to go.
Yeah. Like I can't.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
He was pretty horrific too, because I think he had like, I don't know, they gave both of them like fake faces, which is just horrific. But I just,
Yeah.
because remember the one that one was like was it Tim? Did you say it's Timothy the chimp or something?
I didn't. I don't know the names.
That
Travis
one,
is
Travis,
the one the woman who gave him like Xanax.
Yeah, that one too. He died because he tried to get in a cop car and they shot him.
They just shoot him like multiple times.
Yeah, I know.
Although, in fairness,
Was that in
like, people
Massachusetts?
I don't know, but it was in the Northeast. I do know it was in the Northeast.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
In fairness, like this is as an aside, people have had their brains like rotted by Hollywood. Like whenever there's like some sort of police altercation, and they're like, "Why don't they shoot the gun out of the people's hands?" It's like it's not a
That's not a thing.
movie.
Well,
Yes.
That's not a thing.
But
yeah, and here's the
You
other
also
reason.
hear like why did this cop, like you hear like a cop killed someone, and not taking any other circumstances. It'd be like, oh, the cop shot him like 10 times, and it's like, oh my god, why? Like that's so overkill. And it's like, you don't understand that some people, especially if they're under the influence of substances or drugs,
Yeah.
like it literally may take 10 bullets to put a person down. And now you're dealing with an animal that's, as I said, like 3 or 4 times as strong. So you may have to shoot an animal like multiple times to get it to stop.
The thing that people don't understand about that is, so there's some principles to that. Is so, one, you don't pull your gun unless you're gonna kill someone. But two, the principle is you don't stop shooting until they stop, because when I took my CCW, they pretty much told you like, if someone's coming at you with a knife, you have to shoot them before 20 feet, or they're gonna make contact with you. And then the other thing is why you don't shoot for limbs is if you try to shoot, well, they're moving, but if you miss, like chances are you're going to shoot some poor kid like a mile and a half away sitting on their front porch, because that bullet's got to go somewhere. So the other thing is, if you're gonna shoot someone, you have to make sure that you're going to hit them, because if you don't, you're probably going to kill someone else. But because that bullet, that's the other reason why when people shoot bullets into the air, like
That's got to come down somewhere. So number one, small body parts that are moving a lot, you're not going to be able to hit. So you have to aim for the part you're actually going to hit, which is center mass. Number two, if the gun is out, then it's, especially with law enforcement, it's supposed to be in instance of deadly threat. And once deadly force has entered the equation, there's not really any coming down from that. So it's
And aiming's not a precise science as much as like Hollywood would have you think that. Like you can, like if you're really good, like you can get your box where it's gonna go pretty small, but you still have variance.
So for reference, rest in peace, Paul Harrell on YouTube this is a guy who was Marine Corps, then he was in the Army, and he was a sharpshooter instructor for the Army. Like, this is a guy who knew how to shoot. This is a guy who knew what the hell he was doing. And he would do accuracy tests with, comparing different weapons or different ammunition or something like that. And it's not like that he would, he's at 10 yards with a 9mm, and it's not like it's a whole cluster of shots that are like this. They're scattered out around on a paper target. And this is a guy who, as far as anyone goes, is a professional shooter. Like, it is not precise. You're going to have drift. You're going to have breath control. You're going to have one load is loaded a little bit hotter, so you have a little more recoil than you thought, or something like that.
The other reason you don't aim for limbs is because let's say you hit him right here in the bicep, good chance that just goes right through their arm and keeps going, and you hit someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you aim for center mass.
So we were on.
Also, don't do what I've seen a lot of cops that have accidentally shot someone do, and it's fucking stupid. You pull your gun out. Do not put your hand on the trigger, because
you don't put your finger on the trigger until it's time to fire.
Yes, and I've seen like a lot of those accidental police shootings. Those dumbasses always have their finger on the trigger. It's like
there was a dumbass police shooting. There was a guy in Georgia who got pulled over. He said, "Listen, I'm a licensed concealed carry," and they said, "Well, where's your weapon?" He says, "It's I've got it holstered at like 4 o'clock or something like that." One of the officers pulled the damn thing out of the holster, and when the officer grabbed it, had 2 fingers go into the trigger guard to pull the thing out and shot him in the leg. How the hell, man?
It's so it drives me.
Oh my god,
drives me nuts. Okay, so grills moving on then.
Yeah, in that one.
Okay, so next one. This one's a bit of an unfair matchup, unfortunately, but this is the crocodile versus the kangaroo. Kangaroos are formidable. They will screw you up, and they have. I think the other thing people don't realize, because I know someone this happened to, they have spines in their legs, and like sometimes, like if they catch you right, they can cut you from like stem to stern. Pretty good.
Kangaroos have really big claws on their back feet.
Yeah,
they can split you open with that. Yeah,
like they can they can screw you up real bad. But I think the problem here is I don't think it has a good way to attack a crocodile, and if a crocodile gets the kangaroo, it's over.
I think the issue is what is the setting, because for a crocodile to be really lethal, they're wanting to drag you into the water and roll you. So part of what happens is you're gonna freak out and drown as part of it. Yes, they have incredible bite force, but it's not like their stubby little legs and their tail have a lot of purchase just on dry land. So where what is the now? If they're on dry land, what's a kangaroo gonna do? Oh, like that one comes up as a draw, I guess.
I think we'd have to have water on the battlefield to give the crocodile a fighting chance. They don't necessarily have to start in the water. I think we'd have to have a body of water to give the crocodile a fair shake. I just don't see I guess where my problem with this one is I do not see an avenue for the kangaroo to win.
Yeah, there's not a clear path to victory on this one, really. And kangaroos will mess you up, but
My favorite clip is it's like some children's show from Australia or something, and the guy's dressed up like some mascot or something, and the kangaroo just hates him and keeps like attacking him, and like keeps like headlocking him and like tearing his mask off and stuff. It's quite funny.
Hmm.
I think it even tackles him to the ground one point because it's just like got him in a chokehold. So, I'm gonna take the crocodile. Do you guys have any thoughts on the whole?
I'm gonna go with crocodile. Crocodile is actually, I mean, crocodile kills like people all the time in Africa because people need to make the distinction. Alligators are in the United States, like Florida. A crocodile is like an African thing.
I think crocodiles are the leading killer in Africa.
Yeah, crocodiles are pretty.
No.
Hippos.
No, I
Hippos.
think actually, I was listening to that podcast. They said crocodiles are a bigger killer.
Hmm.
Hippos pull their weight though.
Now I got to look it up. I got to look up the ranges for gators. Yes, there is an American alligator, but then the other question is where else are gators have a shorter snout, crocodiles have a longer, thinner snout. But now I'm trying to figure out. It's like, come on, where do they live?
And
tell me where.
We have to.
Oh, okay. It's in the U.S. or China. I'm sorry. That's.
We also have to give this to the crocodile. Sterling Mallory Archer has a deathly fear of crocodiles.
Isn't it both gators and crocodiles?
Yes, it's both.
I thought so. Yeah. I mean, there's another way you can tell them apart. I mean, you're going to see an alligator a little later, and you'll see a crocodile after a while. So there's a time element built into it.
That was a good one.
It was awful.
You were so smooth with it, though.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So we're taking crocodile there. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one that's not fair because I feel like someone's getting the short thrift here. But this is the rhino versus the wild pig, which I think is a bad matchup for the wild pig.
Yeah.
The wild pig is a menace, though. There's a good clip on Twitter. I don't know if you can find it easy, but it's someone has like one of those like iron gates, and this feral pig in like Texas just knocks it down right off its hinges.
There are invasive feral pigs along the southern border and in southern Texas and stuff, and people gave guys a lot of crap when they were like, yeah, no, we need rifles to deal with these things. Like, oh, you can't deal with a pig? And it's like, you don't know shit, do you?
That's the infamous one. Look, I live just outside of DC. Feral pigs, feral hogs are not a thing where I live in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that they're a thing. And I said, like, drive an hour or so away from here. Go in the woods, would you see black bears? Maybe. Would you see feral hogs? Not necessarily. So it's not a thing where I live, but I know it's a thing. And I've seen pictures of people, they've like, oh, I shot like a feral hog, a feral pig. And it's not like, it's not like a dog size boar. It's like the size of like, you can't see it, but I have like I have a small couch, which is maybe about 4 feet in like length, but it's the size of a fucking couch.
Yeah.
Huh.
And their hides
like,
are tough. Like
hundreds of pounds.
You couldn't kill one with a handgun, probably, unless you got really lucky.
It became a meme, Shad, where they were taught. This was going into like the whole gun debate, which we're not wading into. But there was a discussion a few years back where he was like, people don't need AR-15s. Like, these are weapons of war. No one needs this. And a dude on Twitter like responded, it's like, what about like the 30 to 40 feral hogs that will like come breaking onto my land? Like, what am I supposed to do to protect my family? Like, I need like a high-powered rifle to kill them. And the dude got mocked like relentlessly for that. Meanwhile, it's like there has probably never been a guy in the last few years who has been more justified and vindicated by his response. It's like if you actually see the hogs, again, you're not talking about like a dog-sized animal, which that itself is a misnomer. Anyone who had like I don't have a dog now. Not that many years ago, I had a dog. He was 20 pounds, which is described as a medium-sized dog. But that's a smaller sized dog compared to like even like a large breed dog that's maybe like 50, 60 pounds.
Yeah.
I would walk that 20-pound dog sometimes. And if he saw like a squirrel that he was going to chase, 20 pounds, if I wasn't prepared, like he would run on his leash and jerk so quick that if I wasn't prepared, like he could probably pull me off my feet. Like I could probably trip and fall because it would jerk to the point where I'd be like, and I'm a guy, again, I'm not especially huge, but I'm like 6 feet, 170, 175 pounds. Like I have, and I'm not saying I'm like, even pro wrestler level strength, but it's like I at least have some strength that I can handle. Like I can do a 20-pound dog. A 20-pound dog could, if I'm not prepared, at least jerk me.
When he's come
versus a feral hog that's like at least
a couple hundred.
Oh, more than that, probably like 500 pounds.
And they're also so I think like most pigs are about as intelligent as a 6-year-old.
Pigs are I have a 5 mean, and she's smart. Yeah, they're mean. They can be.
If you watch people hunt them in Texas, like a lot of them go in helicopters with high-powered rifles to take them down.
You don't want to get close to them.
Yeah.
Because they have tusks, they will literally gore you to death.
Yeah. So it's now, all of that being said, you're up against something that is what is effectively one of the closest things on the planet to an organic tank with a giant honking horn on its nose. He's just going to put a hole in a damn bore. So Rhino's taken away with this.
This is an irresistible force meeting a very movable object.
Rhinos, I think, are not. I think they're territorial, but I haven't heard stories that they're necessarily like overly aggressive.
Nah, they're kind of chill.
Like, they're just not like they're gonna mess with you just because it is more territorial. It's like they feel threatened because you come into their area, but yes, like Chad, I agree. Like they're tanks.
I think the other thing people miss about pigs, though, or wild pigs too, is like they don't even have to be mad or being malicious. They might just be like, I'm bored. I'm gonna go fuck with them.
Well, that's the problem. Like anyone who knows animals, like especially smart animals, is that the smarter the animal, they need, much like humans, they need intellectual stimulation.
Yeah.
So if they're not stimulated, they get bored, and if they get bored, they decide, I'll entertain myself, and that could be destructive.
Yeah, remember
not necessarily maliciously, but it could be like.
Remember in Spain, Shakira was complaining that like a bunch of wild pigs stole her purse and destroyed it, and no one would help. I'm like, I'm sorry, but like you're on your own there.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I actually saw this once. People who like have gotten like raccoons as pets, because I think raccoons are adorable. Like I like love.
Have you ever seen the one? Like, have you ever watched them eat grapes? It's adorable.
No, but they have little hands, like really articulated hands, and they like. But I'm like, a raccoon is a pet. Like when I was much younger, I was like, a raccoon is a pet. Can I do that? And people are like, I don't recommend raccoons as pets. Like they're lovely creatures, but they're also really smart. So like if you have a job, it's like, I'm gonna go for my 9-to-5 job, and it's like that's not a good thing, because like the raccoon will just get bored, and you come home and like they destroyed your house. And then I even tried to be like mean. It's just like I got bored. Like I decided to like tear all the drapes off and
They're
shred
curious. So what happens
Yeah.
when I pull on this? What's
Yeah.
behind here? You know.
But yeah, there's it's a side hobby of mine. Sometimes when I'm feeling down, I like to watch some YouTube videos of raccoons eating, because there's one I like where they give it a little bowl with grapes, and it sits there with this little bowl, and it just takes its grapes out and eats it with its hands. It's adorable.
Does it wash the grapes?
No, it has to be washed for it.
Because because that I think the so we call them in English raccoons, but I think it originally has stemmed from like a German word, or has origins in that, and loosely translated. It was like washing bear. They're not bears, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's because if you ever seen raccoons, and this is true, like behavior, like they will take their food and they'll wash it. They'll dunk it in
Because
like water.
they don't have a
eat
lot
it.
of saliva glands, so they're
Yeah.
moisturizing it.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Look, all I know is there are raccoons in my area, and there's foxes in my area that I think have chased off most of the raccoons, but they're still in the area, and I know this why, because I will go randomly, like in the morning, I'll take the trash out, and I'll look, and I'll see that my trash bag has been ripped up in my trash can, and I'm
Yep.
like, damn raccoons.
Wait till
And
you,
I don't hate raccoons. I said I love them, but it's also like,
I hate that.
come on,
I hate them.
you like tore apart my trash. Thank God it's inside the can.
I
Yeah,
hate them.
yeah.
Like, try going camping. They are absolutely horrific when you camp, because like the shit they can do to get into your food. Like, I am shocked
Pretty
that
impressive.
I am shocked that they have never stolen my keys and gotten into the car to get to the food when I put it in there. But like, they'll eat your shit. Like, they'll eat your shit right out of the trash in the middle of like, no, I'm sorry. They'll eat your shit right out of the fire. If you like spilled something in the fire, you'll wake up. They ate it right out of the embers.
Yeah.
I had a coworker at camp that had some marshmallow on his hand, and he went to bed and he woke up and a raccoon had licked it off in the middle of the night.
Well, at least they didn't bite him. It's
That's
like,
why I said, but like, they'll
There was
when they, if they get in fights over the like near your camp, they scream. It's
they scream.
Yeah.
They-
Yeah, they do.
I've heard them enough that I know what a raccoon scream is. For anyone who is, there was the song from like 10 years ago. What does the fox say? If you've never heard a fox scream
yeah,
or vocalization, you might be like, what the fuck is it? Because the first time I heard it, I'm like, because it was like late at night, because they always come out at night,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is that? And then
It is creepy.
I heard it early in the morning when I was working from home. And I'm
Mhm.
like, what the fuck is that? And I looked outside one of my back windows, and there was a fox that was standing on my fence, which it's like, it literally jumped. Foxes can actually jump really high, because
Mhm.
the fence is not huge, but it's also like a 7-foot fence. It like jumped to the top of the fence. And it's standing on the fence. And I look, I'm like, what the hell is that? And I see a fox standing on my fence, and it like goes like, ow. And it starts doing the sound. I'm like, oh my God, that's a fox. That's what that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Raccoons, they actually did a commercial. I don't know if you guys saw it a few years back, but it was like the raccoons were talking to each other. They're eating trash, and it was the most like, you nailed raccoons, because one of the raccoons goes, oh my God, you gotta try this, and the other raccoon's like, what is it? He's like, oh, it's disgusting, but you gotta try it. And I'm like, yeah, that's raccoons. They just
Yeah, it is.
And-
eat all my trash.
At an old job, I'd take the trash out to the dumpster at night, and there was a good chance, like 3 out of 4 nights, the dumpster would hiss at me.
Yeah.
But fun story. There was one in my neighborhood, like quite a few years ago now, that was stumbling around in the middle of the day like it was sick, and pretty much
Mhm.
like this any state agency pretty much tells you to get fucked if you tell them there's a rabid animal wandering around your neighborhood. So that was a fun thing to find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have shot it, but I did not have a rifle, and I did not feel confident to shoot it with a handgun.
Yeah, you didn't want to get that close to make. Handgun shots are hard.
I was worried about the ricochet if I missed it off of the cement
Yeah.
without sights. But yeah, it's pretty much, I don't know if other states do that, but where I live, the state says go fuck yourself if there's a rabid animal in your area.
I don't think that happens here, but I could not swear to it off the top of my head at the moment.
But they don't explicitly tell you that. They just keep telling you to go call someone else, while there's a rabid animal wandering around your area, and then it's like, oh, you need to get a private person to do that. And I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But that was
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Okay, so we got Rhino moving on.
Mhm.
Okay, so our last one, which is another mismatch. With the late entry, but this is the hippo versus the honey badger. And I know the honey badger would want this really bad, and it would probably try its hardest, but I don't think the honey badger has it in it to take on a hippo.
No.
Honey badgers, if I remember correctly, animals generally regard them as more trouble than they're worth. And I think honey badgers also have a tendency to go for the genitals as part of
They'll
part of their fighting style.
they'll break into like bees' hives for the honey, and they just don't give a shit about the bee stings.
Yeah, their hide's too thick to really feel it. And yeah, they're just, I mean,
And
they're mean as hell.
They'll chase mountain lions away.
Yeah, but the problem is that they're just not. I mean, you're just on sheer size. The hippo's gonna.
It has the sheer force of will, but it does not have the size. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is spongy and bruised.
I don't think it's a snoo with the hippo, but he'd be willing to try.
Did you tell them the women have women's superior fundamentals make up for lack of dunking? Yes, the men still laugh. The men must die. Okay, so that is the end of round one. So we're coming back around for the quarterfinals here. I think this will go a little quicker, but so we have the grizzly bear versus the moose. I think this is a no contest. I think grizzly bears eat moose, so
they will, but they don't hunt them. Grizzly bears will roll up on a moose carcass and chase away the wolves that killed it or something. So, hang on. Let me do something real quick.
I think the grizzly bear is a little too much animal for a moose.
It probably is. Oh, really? Okay. There is a video in Glacier National Park. Okay, let's see how this shakes out. There's a moose in the water. There's a grizzly bear that's walking on the other side of a structure. Kind of looks like Grizzly's talking some trash, but well, now we can't see him. Oh, wow. Okay. The moose ran him off. Holy crap. Wow. All right.
I would say
Huh.
if a moose charges, like in that situation, the grizzly bear probably does back off because that's like,
Oh, yeah.
it's probably like,
That's absolutely what happened.
There is a video that has been posted not that long ago, like last year, and it's of a female moose chasing a grizzly, like an adult grizzly.
Yeah.
From what I have heard, the backstory though is that the grizzly had already like killed and ate, or at least killed one of her children.
grizzly bears
I'm not sure
are,
what you call it, a moose. I'm not sure what you call a moose child. Like
oh, probably calf. If I had to
calf,
guess.
yeah, moose calf. That's allegedly what it had already done, and it was like it either had eaten it or was going to, and the mother was like in grief and like chasing it off, and the bear did run. It chased the female moose. Chased it off.
They're opportunists, like so. Like in that situation, like with the moose, if the grizzly bear had just ate or it's not hungry at that time and the moose chases it, it's just gonna be like, I don't have time for this shit. I
think
seeking greener pastures.
For premises of this though, of the tournament, I feel like we should do like these animals are committed. Like they're gonna fight it out. It's not just like I'm gonna beg off. Like they're going at it. So under that, I still view grizzly as like an almost unstoppable machine. So I would choose grizzly over a moose, even adult male moose. Now I think that would be a tough matchup because the size of a moose, adult or female, male or female.
But
it would be tough for a grizzly, but I think a grizzly would prevail.
But I did look it up before this because I was curious. But I did look that a grizzly bear can take down a bison, so I'm assuming if it can take down a bison, then it can take down a moose. Not saying it's easier; it would do it every time, but I would vote grizzly bear here.
I'll go grizzly too.
You know, everything I'm finding right now is just kind of showing that. Wait, hang on. What is this? Let me see what this is. Don't tell me you got a video and then don't.
That's the
Nope,
worst.
that is a dead ass moose. Yep. Yeah, kind of looks like it. Kind of looking like the bear's coming away with that one. Not like it's a. Not that it's a blowout.
No,
This
I think like a
tough.
I think we're assuming like in its prime bear here, not like a subadult or like an aging bear, where I think that would be a no-go.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next one. This one's gonna be a tough one. So a tiger versus a bison.
Well, I know that there are cases of, a lion. Hell, I saw the video. A lion killing a water buffalo, and water buffalo are pretty damn scary on their own. And it's not like that there's a lot of canine predators for bison, so this is a one where, Siberian tigers are the biggest ones, I think. Now I gotta. No, yeah. I'm researching on this one because I'm like, I gotta find out. I gotta know.
I would say so. I'm gonna put a hypothesis to our rules here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the rules of engagement for this would benefit the bison more than the tiger.
Tiger's gonna need some ambush, I think.
And I also think examples you're gonna find of bison are gonna be like probably smaller bison.
Mm. I don't.
I think
So-
I'm gonna vote bison personally. But
If you just put them out in the open with each other, then it's not looking great. I mean, there is a reason that big cats are ambush predators. They don't want to go square up face to face with you. So again, as far as I'm concerned, the question is going to come out to what the circumstances are. And again, they're also really damn big. Let's see. Oh God. Okay. Let's see. Size up to 660 pounds. Bison up to 2,000 pounds. Speed's about the same. Tigers do have
Really?
limited endurance. Yeah. Tiger speed's somewhere from 35 to 40. Bison speed's around 37. So.
Limit. What's the endurance on a bison?
I mean, you consider it's a grasslands animal.
It's a
long walking, lots of
it's a
charging.
beast of burden too.
Yeah. Whereas, there is not a big cat that goes after something for a long time. Cheetah will make one run, and if they don't get it on that pass, they'll go take a break. Lions will make a run, and if they don't get it, they'll take a break.
And a bison just carrying that bulk around's got to have some.
I mean, it's more than twice the. More than twice the size too. So I think
I think
I don't know, man.
I think in like a normal situation, a tiger would take one look at that and be like, no.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not worth the fight.
Because I think even grizzlies will take them out if they're desperate, but I think grizzlies will only in the wild they tend to go for older, sick, or young ones. Like they rarely,
Yeah.
and even like the young, smaller ones, they're very cautious about.
Yeah.
So wait, Shad, what are you going with?
For me, it just boils down to what's our setting. Is it just, Bop, here you guys go, or are we... If the tiger gets an ambush opportunity, he may be able to take it. But if it's out in the open, the bison's going to take it.
Brad, you're in bison.
Yeah, because I feel like even in an ambush situation, like the tiger gets one shot and then it's probably screwed.
I'm gonna really just make this like it's Roman Coliseum. It's there's no like if we're in the grasslands, bison's like calmly like chomping down, grazing, and then the tiger like comes. It's Roman Coliseum. Like the two and they're like there. Like bison probably isn't necessarily going to be like charging, except if it's a threat. But the tiger like eventually, you also like they can't just be like cohabitating, right?
Yeah,
Like
we have to assume that
fight at some point.
Yeah, we have to assume they're going to fight, but we have pushed them out of the gates of the Roman Coliseum.
So the question would be like, with a tiger, would it be able to get the best of a bison? Would it be able to withstand the bison? Would the bison be able to? Really, it's more like would the bison be able to withstand the tiger if it's attacking?
Well, I would say the thing in the bison's favor is the bison probably has a much greater chance to just one shot a tiger than the tiger does to like.
Yeah,
I feel the tiger is agile, but the tiger could tire out, especially if you're like, oh, it has bad endurance. Like it could tire out, whereas the bison, not necessarily that it wouldn't tire out, but it also probably is not necessarily going to be running around that it tires itself out. So the tiger could try to attack it. Bison, like because of its size, like may shrug it off. I don't know. I mean,
I think
the neck and head
of...
it's got fucking humps. Like it's so big that the tiger's preference of like, let me try to, do a neck snap isn't going to necessarily work.
I think
I don't know.
I think the tiger not having much of a speed advantage is really going to hamper it too.
Yeah,
I think you are correct that it could be like the bison just like tries to withstand and the tiger tires itself out and the bison can just be like, all right, my turn, and then just battering rams, which all it has to do is break some ribs and then the tiger is like done.
I could see it. I could see it just going into a charge though, and the tiger being like, "Oh shit, this thing's way faster than it looks," and just that being.
Yeah. With that setting, I'm gonna say it's on the bison side.
So 2 for bison.
Yeah.
I just think the tiger. I think the tiger would have a solid shot. I just think that like its margin of error is way smaller than the bison.
Mm-hmm.
And law of averages would say the bison probably gets the better of it a little more than the tiger does.
So I want to say tiger, but I guess factoring in all these factors, I guess I would say bison. All because they are big and they have structural, like, and by structural I mean literally like the physical structure advantages that a tiger would not be able to exploit. It would be actually a detriment. Because again, big cats, even like mountain lion, it's like their method of eliminating prey is basically to do like a quick grab of the neck nap.
Well, no, actually, so if a mountain lion attacks you in the woods, they're real dicks about it, by the way. Fuck mountain lions, but what their preferred method of getting you is they want to get behind you and slip their teeth up in your neck, paralyze you, and then eat you alive, because they're assholes.
Yeah.
They don't care if you're alive or not. If your spinal cord's severed, then they're just going to start eating.
Yeah, because that's why I said that's what I always say is like grizzly bears will maul you, but they have a method to how they do it, and they're just trying to neutralize you. Like mountain lions are just jerks about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just total jerks about it. Okay, so Bison moving on then. So that's
Yeah.
going to be an interesting
Yeah.
semifinal. Okay, so the next one I think is a mismatch, but this is the gorilla versus the crocodile. I don't even think this one's close.
Again, if we're in the Coliseum, then I don't know that the Croc's going to have a way to. I'm going to see
about we
more
do-
possibility
do
of the gorilla pulling it out.
How about we do a Coliseum, but part of the Coliseum has water, not like it's the naval battle water, or it's like,
Mhm.
but it's like there's like some moats or
I think
enough where the crocodile could like. But at the same time, like that also would that be in the gorilla's favor because the gorilla could just feel like, I'm not gonna go in that water. I'm not
Well,
gonna go over there.
Yeah.
the thing is though, like if you've watched old like Crocodile Hunter episodes, you've seen him like wrestle with a crocodile successfully. And you're talking about a gorilla is bigger and stronger with arms and hands, and they can hold its mouth shut. They can like deal with the roll and stuff. Like
Yeah.
so it's essentially like a way bigger, stronger person against the crocodile. And we know that people have developed tactics that are semi-effective.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I would say gorilla.
Yeah.
And
That's
I think
where
there's a good
that's going,
chance
I
the
think.
gorilla just grabs it by the tail and flings it.
Heh.
So gorilla moving on here.
It's funny because if you actually, I've seen a lot of stuff. Gorillas are actually surprisingly more chill than like chimps.
Yeah, because they're big.
Like
they don't
you-
have
they-
to. They don't have to be little
They-
dickheads about it.
You have to be careful. Like there have been obviously instances where gorillas have perfectly hurt people, but I feel like in the context I've seen it, it's usually been when like they were young or around, which any
Mhm.
animal is like when they're young or involved or close, they're gonna get more aggressive to protect them. But generally I've seen gorillas do things that it's like because of their intelligence, they're doing things that's almost like you're acting goofy. Like
Yeah.
you're legit acting goofy. Like
I've seen
in like
There's
in the
one-
humorous context where it's like you're being silly just for like no good reason other than
Oh,
this.
there's
Like
one-
you think it's amusing to be silly.
there's one at the
Mhm.
zoo here. If people try to take pictures of it, it makes faces. When people try to take pictures of it,
As an aside, not in tournament, but possibly the smartest of the great apes is like the orangutan. Orangutans are like insanely smart, and they've documented them doing behavior that it's odd, even for like the context of great apes. It's like you show a different level of intelligence.
Yeah.
have you ever watched?
Not human level, but obviously very smart.
You can watch YouTube videos of like crows solving puzzles. Like they're insanely like scarily smart.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have really
I-
good memories.
Yeah, because these researchers like attack them. Oh, and they tell on you too. They'll tell their buddies that you're an asshole.
Oh yeah,
Because there was this town
heard
that was
you-
going to shoot them one year, and the crows didn't come that year.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I've actually heard two stories. Anecdotal, but I've read a couple stories. One was someone who was like, "Oh yeah, I accidentally killed a crow," and then like for the entire like season, like the crows like would do, like they would like attack him or they would do things that it's like the crows knew this guy. He gets like, I didn't kill it intentionally. It was like an accident, but I killed a crow, and the crows like that held it against him. Like
Yeah.
they would like treat him poorly. And the other thing I've heard was that there was, and again, anecdotal. This is true. Whatever. Someone basically made a story. I think like about posted on Reddit. They were like, I would always like feed the crows. Like he worked at like a bagel shop or something where it's like I feed the crows bread. Like we're gonna throw it away. It's like let me feed like the crows. It's a crow population. It's like let me feed the crows. Like whatever. I don't care. Throw out bread for them. And the crows like love this guy. Like they literally legit like oh that's the bread man. Like I love that dude. Like they befriended him. So then like he would do that. He went out to do that one day, and they started acting weird. They like were calling to him. They started like acting real weird, and he's like, "What's going on?" And they like Lassie in the old show. They like
Mm-hmm.
were like circling around. They got him to like go in a different direction, not far away, and he followed it because it's like they're acting weird. This is not like what's going on. And he followed him, and it was like some old dude in like a suburban house nearby had like had some sort of medical event like fallen in his yard nearby. It was close enough that it's like the guy could walk to within like a minute or two.
Yeah.
And the crows were like alerting him. It's like there's something weird going on here. Look, there's a person who was having like a medical event. The guy was like passed out or something, and the guy like called the ambulance. They like helped the guy, and he's like, this is the weirdest fucking thing. Like these crows like understood like another human was like hurt, and they're like, hey dude, hey bread man, like one of your buddies. I mean, they're crows. Like they probably think all humans are like, but they understood conceptually. It's like another human's hurt. Like you might want to check this out. And he like actually like, yeah, I called the paramedics. The guy was like, okay, but it's like crows saved the dude's life.
They
And again, anecdotal story. It's like you'd be like, is this true? Who knows if it's true? A guy said it's true.
They can use,
but they're smart enough that this is not implausible that they did this sort of thing.
No, they can use tools. They understand the idea of like of displacing water. To get what they want, and they also understand. I don't know how this works, but parrots have this too. They understand the concept of zero.
I remember reading about that. I don't remember
It's the concept of zero,
specifics,
but I don't remember how that like pertains.
Yeah.
Because I know dogs. Like if you give your dog like 2 treats and suddenly you give it 1 treat, it's like, what the fuck is this? Like, you owe me 2.
I get fascinated by animal intelligence. So every now and again, I will like kind of look and research like animal intelligence to see like what scientific information has been like updated or whatever. But I'm kind of fascinated by it because it's difficult to assess it because obviously as humans we view everything through the human lens. So we, to the extent that we can measure intelligence in other animals, we do it through essentially tests that have been designed for humans. So a very human-centric test is being put on an animal that does not think remotely like a human being. So we're trying to gauge the intelligence of a non-human entity.
Yeah.
And gauge it in terms. So that's why we're saying like oh, hogs are about as smart as like a toddler or a 6-year-old. And it's like, is that true? It's like maybe like the best we can know.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of fascinated by it, and like there's some animals that are, I don't think we should say like human level intelligence, but they're way smarter than you think about it. And I have like a 5-year-old. She's not even 6, but it's like any animal. I remember like I studied psychology in college many years ago, but it said the passage that was talking about animal intelligence, and it was like, oh, dogs are maybe as smart as a toddler. When I read that, I'm like, oh, that's not very smart. Like kids are stupid, right? Until I had a kid, and I'm like, if a dog is as smart as like my 5-year-old, I'm like, god damn, they're like so fucking smart.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, dogs can conceptualize so much then. But you know, elephants, dolphins, but other animals like crows, like having that level of intelligence, like this is actually really special because we don't know if aliens exist. It's a whole other can of worms, but it's like other creatures that we share the earth with, if they are of at least a certain level of intelligence, it does, to me, heighten the human experience. Because like if I have a dog, it's like the dog's like as smart as a 5-year-old. It's like, that's a pretty smart. Yeah. So my interaction with that dog, the dog like shows me affection. It's like that dog, my 5-year-old understands affection. When my 5-year-old tells me, oh, I love you, daddy. It's like, I don't think she does it. Does she fully understand everything about love? No. Does she really believe love and can appreciate a certain level? Like, yeah. So
yeah,
I think it's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be all animal conservation because we're having an animal tournament, animals fighting it out. But it does make you think. It's like, why would you not want to support, for example, like elephant conservation? When there's many actual documented stories of elephants having altruistic like behavior, like they will save human beings, and it's like, why? It's like they did it because they think that they have some sort of concept of empathy. It's like, oh, another living creature is hurt, let me help them. There's like many stories of that, and it's like, it serves the elephant no purpose to save a human's life or protect a human, but it does it. So it's like it must understand on some level, which is a high degree of intelligence, like have that sort of level of empathy or altruistic meaning.
Okay, so our final quarterfinal. This one's actually, I think, going to be tough, and I think we might have some disagreement. So this is the rhino versus the hippo.
So there's plenty of video of this being an attempted thing, and the rhino just keeps losing. Like, it's yes, rhinos are organic tanks. Yes, they have a giant horn right on the front of them, but they like I have been flipping through videos here trying to get ready for it, and they just keep being like the hippos just keep running them off. They're just like, no, you're not. There's cases where the rhinos stick their head with the horn in the hippo's mouth, and the hippo flips it over, like the hippo like clamps and then twists its head and knocks the rhino down. And I'm like, hard to argue with that.
Yeah, the rhino really just doesn't have much in offensive capability, and hippos are just mean.
Yeah.
I also would say hippo just because one, like people don't appreciate this. Probably because they largely spend their life in the water mostly.
Yeah.
But hippos have been clocked like running like 30 miles an hour when they want to. They do it, I think, that like in short bursts, but they're deceptively quick. And rhinos, I think, probably can charge pretty quick too. But what I've learned about rhinos is that yeah, they're big. They are built like tanks, but they don't seem to be particularly aggressive, and
No.
maybe they also kind of seem a little bit clumsy.
They're kind of. I think they're kind of dumb too.
Yeah, I think they're probably dumb. Like, if I was a human being, I would give a rhino wide berth, but
Oh yeah.
a hippo comparable size, I think, because they're more aggressive and they're quick, deceptively quick, I'd get to a hippo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just running away with it.
Okay, so we're gonna head to the semifinals here. So these are gonna be, well, one's gonna be tough. I think one's gonna be less tough. But so we have the grizzly bear versus the bison as our first semifinal. I think I'm gonna take the bear here. I think this is a tough one, but I'm gonna take I think the grizzly bear has the advantage in combat.
I'm also gonna go the grizzly.
They can. I did look it up. They have taken down. They don't prefer it, but they have taken down adult bison.
Yeah,
I can believe it. Grizzly people don't appreciate how strong and massive adult grizzly can be. And I've actually heard, because I've actually we haven't done a novel concept here. Like, there are people who have hypothesized, or even like biologists have weighed in, like what animal would win against another animal. And grizzly bear would basically win against most animals just because they are so damn big. I've actually seen people really have done like deep dives, and it's like, would a grizzly win against like a tiger? And people who, not just like guys like us talking on a podcast about it, like biologists have been like, a grizzly would win just because a grizzly has so much strength that more often than not, a tiger would try to attack it, and a grizzly bear's paw they have so much strength in just their paw. They literally could be like, bitch slap the tiger, and the tiger could die.
Yeah,
because if it hits it just the right way with enough force, it could crack a skull.
So our zoo has grizzly bears, and they have it so like they have their habitat, but there's a cave they can sleep in sometimes, and the edge of that is a window that you can like stand next to, and sometimes they'll sleep there, and sometimes their paw will be against the window, and like it's like you if it swiped me with that, my head and like most of my upper torso would be gone.
Yeah.
Like, they're massive.
Well, and the other thing that comes into play is that grizzly bears have 5 weapons to use: 4 paws and a bite, along with all of that strength. Man, yeah.
Well, and they have just their weight too, though, on top of that, because they can, like,
Oh yeah.
slam down on them and stuff. And I think being able to get up on their hind legs like they do is probably
Yeah.
advantageous.
Yeah, it's another
They're-
advantage.
They're so big and strong that not that it wouldn't hurt it, but I actually feel like they could probably withstand like a bison like attack, like a headbutt. Maybe it would hurt them, and in real life, like maybe they would be enough to shy it off. They wouldn't necessarily like, even attempt
From what I
attacking a
saw,
bison.
they're even like the young bison, which aren't as dangerous. They're very like they give it a lot of respect when they're approaching for their
Yeah.
dinner. So I would say like, and they're smart. That's the other thing. Bears are pretty smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I think the only way the bison has a chance if it put down some picnic baskets and attacked while the grizzly bear was distracted. So are we doing grizzly bear?
Yeah.
Okay, so the other one, I don't think this one's as close, but this is the gorilla versus the hippo. I don't see.
That's the hippo.
Yeah, hippo.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
sorry. That's all hippo.
So this is the final, which this is the grizzly bear versus the hippo. So I think this is an interesting matchup, but I think this is the first time something has the size and the offensive capability to take down the hippo in like a one-on-one matchup.
So a male hippo can weigh up to 4,000 pounds. A grizzly is topping out at about 1,000, I think. And as you know, the hippo having the fatty layer on the outside, it is going to protect the grizzly from getting in a lot of the vital bits. I don't think I agree with you.
I think it's a tough one.
I'm really going in on hippo here. Let me see what I can find.
So Brad, you're gonna go.
So it's
Chad,
1-1.
you're going hippo.
Yep.
Okay, so for 4,000-pound hippo versus a 700-pound grizzly on average. An average for a hippo is anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 pounds. I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm in a spot where I'm leaning in on the hippo to take it. There's just too much size advantage in the bite strength. Yeah, I'm going to be going with the hippo on this.
So I'm the tiebreaker.
Yeah, you are.
So I will say this. I am a strong proponent of grizzly because I think that they are massive. They are incredibly strong. I think in terms of land predators, just about they trump just about everything. And if this was grizzly versus a lion, a tiger, like one of these other, I feel like a grizzly would dominate. Maybe like grizzly versus polar bear, which I even said like before that I was like, too many bears. Like we don't want to have like multiple bears
Yeah,
because
polar
bear
bears-
maybe
A polar
polar
bear
bears
is bigger.
grizzly. They're bigger, they're stronger. Like polar bears are pretty intense, but polar bears are also very unique to like their region. So, but polar bear, a grizzly versus a hippo.
I think Shad makes a strong
I'm
argument.
actually
I'm gonna be honest. He has me convinced to maybe change my vote.
I'm gonna go hippo. As much as I love grizzly, I think grizzly is like a fucking tank. Like they're the Hulk Hogan of the animal kingdom, where it's like They're not gonna lay. They're not gonna. Like, I'm not gonna lay down, brother. I'm not
Yeah,
feeling it.
Shad makes a strong
Not-
argument for
Doesn't work for me.
Shad made a really strong argument for Hippo. I think he's
A hippo has a combination of being hyper aggressive, being really quick, at least in short bursts, and just having a massive amount of size.
what also has
That
it also has the benefit of defensive capabilities, but also not like it's not like a rhino where the rhino probably has has a lot of defensive like qualities to it, but it really doesn't have much of a way to fight back like a hippo can actually fight back.
yeah,
Also, a hippo has a bite strength of 1,800 pounds.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I think the hippo
So-
would probably take it.
If it chomps on a bear,
It's gonna break
it's gonna
limbs.
do damage.
It's gonna break
It's gonna
whatever.
do bad damage.
It's gonna
Yeah.
break whatever it gets a hold of. Because I think when it
Jared.
gets, I think when lions take them down in the wild, they have to really team up on them, and they team up on younger ones, and like a grizzly is even a really large grizzly is going to be going in solo, which I don't think is to its advantage.
No.
Well, that is it. The hippo takes home the championship gold of this tournament.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun with this. This was actually a fun little
Yeah.
Yeah.
episode.
It was there was a lot of research into trying to get your call right on these. You know, it was
Yeah.
it's not just like, I mean, there are objective size facts to go with and that sort of stuff. So, interesting thought experiment.
Yeah, the grizzly bear just got bigger and bigger prey each time because it went from a wolf to a moose to a bison to a hippo. So
Yeah.
just escalating size. Well, that is it for this week. Thank you for joining us always. I don't know what we're doing next week. We might be doing USWA. I think we finally are all like able to watch footage for a weekend. So we'll let you know when that happens, but thank you for joining us as always. This is Matt, Shad, and Brad in 3 Corners. You're in the 4th, and we will catch you next time.